Close the doors of your mind, close the gates of your mind, close the gates of your palace, your ba'ith, your ohel, your ohel, your tent, your mishkan, your mikdash, your hayikal, the body that you dwell inside, your sentient self, where your 12 cranial nerves, your 12 million sinners, where your liver and your kidneys abide, where your innermost parts of yourself, within your tikfarah, within your inner man, where the innermost parts, where the sanctuary is, where the steps that go to the mercy seat, the one where the wings touch each other, where Yahuwah sits above the mercy seat, Yahuwah Elohim. And bring your body to center, bring your thoughts to center, bring your makashaba, your yetzer, your imaginations to center, and bring your heart and your mind to balance within yourself. For today is a day of freedom. Today is a day that Yahuwah has given to us as a natan, as a gift, to be able to understand and to have bina hamada'ah, wisdom, knowledge, understanding to count, and the understanding of what it means to go from the seventh day, even to after the seventh day, to go back to how it was in the beginning. Even the first day, when all the knowledge, the whole earth was filled with the Ruach. But to understand this, one has to understand it on its totality. And there we say all these things until everyone, the Ruach is in the earth, everywhere, then no one will transgress the Torah again. So this is the book of Deuteronomy, Dabarim, the book of Dabarim, Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 20. Deuteronomy, Dabarim, chapter 32 and verse 20. And it says, and he said, I will hide my face from them. So he's going to hide his face. That's why he darkened the cloud, darkened the sky from the 6th to the 9th hour. When Yahushua's on totality. He said, I'm going to hide my face from them, and I will see what their end will be. He's going to see what their end going to be. Why? Because he wants you to understand what it's like to understand what the end going to be. And that's the end of every life. That's why when he was darkened the 6th to the 9th hour in Matthew 27, what did he do? You saw the end of his life. He died. Yahushua died. And that's the end of every man. Right? This is the book of Hebrews chapter 9 and verse 27. Hebrews chapter 9 and verse 27. Hebrews chapter 9 and verse 27. And it says, and just as is it appointed for Adam, man, to die once, Adam, because Adam died. What happened? He said, dust thou art and dust thou shalt return. He said, muth. Once. Why? Because that's what he did. He died. He lived 930 years and he died. And after that comes judgment. That's what happens. Shafat, Mishpat. So Mashiach having been offered once to bear the sins of many. So Yahushua died to bear the sins of many one time, will appear a second time. Why do you think we had two pasaks? See, when people understand it and you miss it, then you understand why you missed it. But then these are all a part of it. Not to deal with sin. So what do you think Yahushua had a second pasak for? To show how I removed your sin. But to save those who are eagerly waiting for him. That's the whole point. Going back to Deuteronomy chapter 32. In verse 20. Dabarim chapter 32 and verse 20. And he said, I will hide my face from them and I will see what their end going to be. Who he talking to? He's talking to Yasharal. He's talking to Yasharal. For they are a perverse generation. He's talking to the 12 tribes of Yasharal. He's talking to all the way from Reuben, the firstborn, all the way to Benjamin, the lastborn. Right? All 12 of them. Right? And he said, they are children in whom there is no faithfulness. He said, there is no continuation of their belief. They're perverse. It's perverted. And guess what? They have made me jealous with what is no God, no Elohim. It's just like a man being married to a woman, and then a woman mentions another man in the home. He said, what? And then another man that gets mentioned inside of Yahuwah's family, and then he's wondering why this person is being mentioned, and he's now jealous. And when Yahuwah gets jealous, what happens? They have provoked me to anger. You're provoking Yahuwah to anger. That very same anger he breathed into Adam with their idols. So in order for you to get rid of Yahuwah's anger, get rid of your idols. Get rid of the thought of them. Get rid of the words that come out of your mouth of your idols, your gilul. So I will make them jealous with those who are no people. So I'm going to use a people that you are not even expecting. And I'm going to use another people to make you jealous. I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation. He said, I'm going to provoke them to anger with a foolish nation. And guess what? A fire is kindled in my anger. He said, a fire. He said, an ish is kindled in my anger, right? This is Jeremiah chapter 23. Jeremiah chapter 23 and verse 23. Jeremiah chapter 23. Am I an Elohim at hand, right? Declares Yahuwah. And not a Elohim far away, so I'm real close to you. And not real far away can a man hide himself in secret places, or a woman, so that I cannot see him or her? He said, I can see you. Declares Yahuwah Elohim, do not I feel the Shamayims in the earth? He said, I feel Shamayim in the earth. Why do you think he said that the son of Adam be lifted up? I'm going to draw all people to myself. Because he had to be lifted up above the people, and then at the bottom he had to feel both Shamayim and the earth. That's why he said, seek those things which are above, where Yahushua sits at the right hand of Yahuwah. Because I got to feel the Shamayim and earth, and I got to feel you and the earth. Why? So nobody would transgress the Torah again, by the Ruach. Nobody would transgress it. For the commandment is the lamp, and the teaching is the light. It says, declares Yahuwah of hosts, verse 25, I have heard what the Nabi'im have said, who Naba lies in my name. They Naba lies, saying, I have dreamed. He said they've been Nabaing lies. And all these false dreams that they have. And I have dreamed. That's why Yahushua cried out twice on totality. My Elohim, why hast thou forsaken me? Then they gave him bitter wine, and he cried out again. Because they said, I have dreamed, and they all were false dreams. They were all false. How long shall their lies be in their heart? It should not be there anymore. It should not be in your heart. It should not even be in your heart and your mind. But you know how long it's in there? 10 years, 8 years, 20 years. He said, how long is this lying dream going to be in your heart? And you're trying to make it come to pass by manipulating and controlling and trying to bring it about. That's why Yahushua died. How long shall these lies be in the heart of the Nabi'im and Nabiyah, who Naba lies, and Naba the deceit of their own heart? Because you know what happens when you practice deceit? You know people give dreams for greed. You know people give dreams for lust. You know people give dreams for these things. You know people give dreams for stiffness of neck, to make somebody stiff in the neck. You know people give dreams for that. Manipulation, control. You know people do that. It's deceit of their own heart to get some popularity. They'll give a false dream just to get some popularity, to get some clicks and likes and views. People do this. Who think to make my people forget my name. That's the whole point, for your name. For your name. You know how to say your name. You know how to say your name. You want people to remember your name. They forget Yahuwah's name for your name. By their dreams that they tell one another. That's all they do. Look, hear my dream, hear my dream, hear my dream, hear my tardy-ma. And then guess what? They don't forget Yahuwah's name. Man, you had that dream, man. I did exactly what that dream said. And then you forget all about it. Yahuwah Elohim, who make dreams come to pass. You forget all about it. It's all about that person. By their dreams, they tell one another, even as their fathers forgot me for Baal. Let the Nabi who have a dream tell a dream. He said, tell a dream. Let him who has my debar speak my debar faithfully. Why? What is the straw in common with the wheat, declares Yahuwah? Is not my word like ish, fire, declares Yahuwah? And like a hammer that breaks the rocks in pieces? I ain't ish shall I plead, right? He says, guess what happens? A hammer that breaks rocks into pieces, he said, I'll break you in half. That's how hard it is. Therefore, behold, I am against the Nabi'im, declares Yahuwah, who steal my words from one another. He said he against you. Going back to Deuteronomy chapter 32. Deuteronomy chapter 32 and 20. Deuteronomy chapter 32 and 21. Deuteronomy 32:21. They have made me jealous with that which is what is no Elohim. They have provoked me to anger with their idols. So I will make them jealous with those who are no people. I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation. A fire is kindled in my anger. He said, I am kindled. And it burns to the depths of Sheol. It burns to the depths of Sheol. That's how hot it is. And guess what? Devours the earth and its increase. He said it's devouring the earth and its increase and sets on fire the foundations of the mountains. How you do that? He said it sets on fire the foundations of the mountains. And you say, what does he mean by that? What does he mean by that? He sets on fire the foundations of the mountains, right? You go to the book of Exodus. Shemuth Exodus chapter 18. So you go, yeah, Shemuth Exodus chapter 18 and verse, go to 19. Shemuth Exodus chapter 19 and 1. Shemuth 19 and 1. And on the third new moon, after the people of Yasharal had gone out of the land of Mizraim, Shemuth Exodus 19 and 1. It says, out of the land of Mizraim, on that day they came into the wilderness of Sinai, and they set out from Rephidim and came into the wilderness of Sinai. And get what they do. And they encamped in the wilderness. There Yasharal encamped before the mountains, while Mashah went up to Elohim. And Yahuwah called to him out of the mountain, saying, thus says Yahuwah, thus shall you say to the house of your code, tell the people of Yasharal, you yourselves have seen what I did to the Mizraim, and how I bore you on Kanaf, eagle's wings, and brought you to myself. Now therefore, if you will indeed obey my voice and keep my covenant, you shall be my treasured possession among all peoples, for all the earth is mine. So why he did all that? Skipping over to verse 11. And be ready against the third day. Why? For on the third day, Yahuwah will come down on the Mount Sinai in the sight of all the people, and you shall set limits for all the people all around, saying, take care to go up to the mountain or touch the edge of it. Why? Because he set the foundation of the mountain on fire. Whosoever touches the mountain shall be put to death, because he set the foundation of the mountains on fire, because the fire is kindled in his anger. He said, and it burns to the lower Sheol. And no hand shall touch him, because the fire is kindled my anger. But he shall be stoned or shot, whether a beast or a man. He shall not live. He said, you ain't going to live. He said, you shall not live. When the Turah sounds a long blast, they shall come up to the mountain. So Mashah went up from the mountain and to the people and consecrated the people, and they washed their garments. Why? Because they had to. Because everything that happens, Yahuwah did. Right? Going to the book of Psalms, the book of Tahalim. This is the book of Tahalim, Psalms, the book of Tahalim, Psalms chapter 46. Actually, no. Psalms Tahalim, chapter 60 and verse 1. Tahalim, chapter 60 and verse 1. Tahalim's Psalm chapter 60, verse 1. O Elohim, you have rejected us, broken our defenses. You have been angry, angry. Oh, restore us. When he said he's been angry, he always been like that. You have made the land to quake. He said, I make earthquakes. I've been doing this for a long time. You have torn it open. Why do you think he split the temple in two when Yahushua cried out in totality? The whole temple is written in two. That was Yahuwah's anger. And guess what? He said, you have torn it open. Repair its breaches, for it totters. He said, look at it, it's leaning over. What's going on? You have made your people see hard things. He's like, man, this is hard. Earthquakes, all these plagues. You have given us wine to drink that made us stagger. Now you see why. You gave us strong drink. You gave us that bitter wine. He said, you gave me that bitter wine and making us stagger all over the place. You have set up a banner for those who fear you, that they may see to it and bow. That's the whole point. Because that's the whole point of him putting himself high above you. Why? Because that cup that he's making you drink is making you stagger. That's why in the Hazon, he said, I'm going to give you a cup without mixture. I'm going to pour it all out on you. Verse 5. That your beloved ones may be delivered. Give salvation by your right hand and answer us. That's what he's doing now. Because salvation comes by his Yod, his son that sits at his right hand. Elohim has spoken in his Qhdsh, his Qhdsh with exaltation. I will divide up Shechem and the portion of the vale of Succoth. Gilead is mine, Manasseh is mine, Ephraim is my helmet, Yehuda is my scepter. Right, going to the book of Jeremiah chapter 6. Jeremiah chapter 6 and verse 1. Jeremiah chapter 6. Jeremiah chapter 6 and verse 1. Jeremiah chapter 6 and verse 1. And it says, flee for safety, O people of Benjamin, right, from the midst of Jerusalem. Blow the Turah in Tekoa and raise a signal for Beth Karam. For disaster looms out of the north and great destruction. Why? Because all these things, because Yahuwah's anger is burning hot against the foundations of the mountains. And guess what? The lovely and delicately bred I will destroy, the daughter of Tsyun. He said, why he going to do that? Shepherds with their flocks shall come against her. Why? They shall pitch their tents around her. Why? They shall pasture each in his place. Why? Prepare for war against her. Why is he going to attack the daughters of Tsyun? Arise and let us attack at noon. Why he want to attack at noon? Woe to us, for the day declines. What? Why he want to attack at noon? Why does he want to attack the daughters at noon? Why he want to come at the daughters of Tsyun? Why is he doing that? For the shadow of evening lengthens. Why is he talking about this? Going towards evening. Arise, let us attack by night and destroy her palaces. Why? Because the yard rule by night. Why he say let us destroy their places? Why? For thus says Yahuwah of hosts, cut down her trees. Why he telling you to cut down her trees? Cast up a siege mound against Jerusalem. Why? This is the city, why? That must be punished. They have to be. For there is nothing but oppression within her. And within who? Within the feminine nature. He said there ain't nothing but oppression inside of her. All as well as a well keeps its fresh water, so she keeps fresh her evil. He said, you just like a freshwater well who keep your evil raw right in your heart. Violence and destruction are heard within her. Yahuwah said, I can hear your heart. And guess what? Sickness and wounds are ever before me. Why would Yahuwah say that? Why would Yahuwah say sickness and wounds are ever before me? Why would he say that? Going to Jeremiah chapter 3. Jeremiah chapter 3. Jeremiah chapter 3 and verse 6. Jeremiah chapter 3 and verse 8. Chapter 3 and verse 7. Actually, just go to 3 and 6. Yahuwah said to me in the days of King Yashiah, have you seen what she did? Now you see, he's like, what do you mean? He say, all that's in her heart is violence and fresh water. Man, she keep fresh her evil. Have you seen what she did? Now you see why Yahuwah's like, I'm burning hot at the foundation of the mountain. He said, don't you even touch it either. That's why Yahuwah told that woman, don't touch him. Because he was burning hot. You touch that mountain, you're going to die. And guess what? Have you seen what she did? What did she do? The faithless one, Yasharah, what did she do? How she went up on every high hill and every green tree, and there played the Zana, the whore. That's why he hot. He said, why is he mad? Because his bride. Because of his bride. And I thought, after she had done all this, she will return to me. He said, I thought you would be satisfied after that. But she did not return. She said she kept on doing the very same thing. Even as a freshwater well, she kept fresh her evil. You see what she did? He said, man, lay shepherds around them and attack the daughters of Tsyun. Why? And her treacherous sister Yehuda saw it. Actually, no. And I thought after she had done all this, she would return to me, but she did not return. And her treacherous sister Yehuda saw it. Why did he turn up Jeremiah in 6? Attack at noon. There's a reason why. And guess what? That all her adulteries of the faithless one, Yasharal, I have sent her away with the decree of divorce. He said, I already sent you away already. You know why? Yet her treacherous sister Yehuda did not fear. He said the other wife didn't fear either. He said both of them didn't fear. He said, man, I got two Ishas who don't even fear me. Yahuwah says, I got two Ishas that don't fear me. And guess what? Because she took her whoredom lightly, because they think that everything they do ain't really that much evil that they do. She polluted the land, committed adultery with stone and tree. He's like, you went after other Elohims and other gods. So now the foundation of the mountain is on fire, the edges of it. He said, I want to see you touch that with the hem of your garment. You're going to burn your hand. He said, you'll burn your hand. And guess what? Yet all of this, her treacherous sister Yehuda did not return to me. He said, and after all this, she did not return to me with her whole heart and her soul. But in pretense, declares Yahuwah, just how we talked about yesterday. He said, he's going to leave you in the mud. Had Yahushua not died, people gonna leave you right there in the mud. They're going to leave you right there. They're going to let you just continue on and continue with your freshwater well with evil in it. They're going to let you do it because Yahushua ain't died in their mind. That's why they don't say nothing to you. And Yahuwah said to me, faithless Yasharal has showed herself more righteous than treacherous Yehuda. So please don't be thinking another woman can't be more righteous than you. Because he said, she did it first, but you saw it second. So I don't like you because you saw her do evil and you still did the same thing she did. So therefore, she more righteous than you because you were supposed to be the person that's supposed to learn from that person's mistakes. But you ended up doing the very same thing that person did. So I love you and I love you not. That's how you is. I love you, but I love you not. I love the other person more than I love you. Jacob I love and Esau I hate. I hate you, Yehuda, and I love Yasharal. That's how Yahuwah is. Go and proclaim these words toward the north, and say, return, faithless Yasharal, declares Yahuwah, and I will not look on you in anger. Why? For I am merciful, declares Yahuwah Elohim, and I will not be angry forever. Only acknowledge your guilt. Right? Going to Matthew chapter 27. Matthew chapter 27 and verse 18. Matthew chapter 27 and 15. Matthew 27 and 15. Now at the feast, the governor was accustomed to release for the crowd any one prisoner whom they wanted. Why? Because you know, when you're in the land of the cops, and when you start to do things Yirmiyahu did, and you say, Yisha, you know, Yehuda, y'all finna lose all your stuff. You finna lose all your wealth and your money and your fame that make you boast. And guess what? Throw him in jail, put him to death, call the cops on him, right? That's what they do. Because when Yahuwah start talking to you, then that's what you're gonna do. Everybody want to throw Yahuwah in jail. People say, no, yeah. Everybody want to put Yahuwah in jail. If Yahuwah, anybody, he said, everybody want to put Yahuwah in prison. Nobody want to keep Yahuwah out of prison. Everybody want to throw Yahuwah in prison. Verse 16, and they had then a notorious prisoner called Barabbas. So when they had gathered Pilate, they said to him, who do you want me to release to you? Which man you want? You know how it is. Which God you want? I want Yahuwah or the idol. I want Yahuwah or the idol. Which one you want? I want the good, faithful man who forgives sins, transgressions, iniquity. Or I want the bad guy, the notorious killer, the murderer, the adulteress, the whoremonger, the one who got 6 to 7, 18 women, ain't married to none of them. That's what I want. I want the one who kill men. They shoot him in the head as soon as he make them angry one time. I want the one who sag his pants down to the ground. I want the hood boy. Or, which one you want? So when they had gathered, Pilate said to him, whom do you want? Me to release to you. Because both of them in prison. How did Yahushua get there? His women. Yasharal and Yehuda put him in prison. They called the police on him, the cops. And guess what? They called the officers. And Barabbas was already arrested. That was her other man. You got two men. And guess what? Whom you want to release to you, Barabbas or Yahusha? Who is called Mashiach? For he knew that it was for envy that they had delivered him up. Why? Because when you start to see what Yahusha did, and the understanding, they had consuming envy on the inside, and they called the officers against them. Judas was the one who called the officers. He went on ahead and got them up and got paid to bring the officers to come arrest them, because he knew that if he get arrested, I'm going to get some money. But guess what? Besides, while he was sitting on the judgment seat, his wife sent word to him. So here go even another wife. Another woman. But you see Judas, he's just like Delilah. He's just like Delilah, the darkness, right? He that person that betray you for anything, right? His wife sent word to have nothing to do with this righteous man, for I have suffered much things today in a dream. I have dreamed. And he said all to the Nabi'im, saying, I have dreamed. He said, all you Nabi'im are liars. You dreamed. But this woman dreamed, and she dreamed, and what happened? Now the chief priests and the elders, he said, have nothing to do with this righteous man, for I suffer many things in a dream today because of him. Now the chief priests and the elders persuaded the crowd to ask Barabbas and destroy Yahusha. The governor again said to them, which one of you do you want? Me to release to you. Which one do you want? That's what Yahuwah is saying to Yashar and Yehuda. Which one do you want? You want Yahuwah or you want your other gods? Which one? That's what you got to choose this day whom you going to pick. And guess what he said? The governor said to him, which one do you choose? Which one of the two do you want to release to you? And they said Barabbas. Pilate said to them, then what shall I do with Yahusha, who is called Mashiach, the anointed one? The one that's poured with the alabaster bar with the alabaster columns, whose hair is black like a raven. The one you could spot him out of 10,000. The one who beloved, who killed Goliath, who had the sword of Goliath in his hand. The one who slew Dawid slew his 10,000 and Saul his 1,000. That's another reason why they delivered him over. Because he slew his 10,000 and Saul his 1,000. Because for envy, they delivered him over. That's why Saul delivered him over to the Philistines to get the 10 foreskin, hoping the Philistines would kill him. And that's what Yahusha's bride is doing right here. Yahuwah's bride is doing right here. Yasharal and Yehuda. And guess what? And they all and he says, then what shall I do with Yahusha, who is called Mashiach? They all said, let him be crucified. And he said, why? What evil have you done? Usually that's what's going to happen. Everybody want to throw Yahuwah in jail. Soon as you start speaking at the bar, soon you start convicting them on things, and guess what? Now they want to call the police on you. Now they want to put you in prison because of all the stuff you're talking about. But they shouted all the more, let him be crucified. Let him be crucified. Even more, they were shouting loud. Right, this is Yeshayahu chapter 58 and verse 1. Yeshayahu chapter 58 and verse 1. Yeshayahu chapter 58 and verse 1. Let him be crucified. Let him be crucified. Let him be put to death. You see what he did to me? Even though it's a lie. You see what he said? Yeshayahu 58 1. Cry aloud and do not hold back. What do you think they were doing, Yashar and Yehuda, when they were telling them that Yahushua should be crucified? They weren't holding back. They were crying aloud. Lift up your voice like a teruah. They were sounding the alarm. This man is a criminal. Let him be crucified. Declares, he says, lift up your voice like a teruah and declare to people my transgression, their transgression. Let him be crucified. Why? Because you want a whoremonger rather, you want a murderer and a whoremonger rather than a righteous man and a loving and caring and compassionate human being. Let him be crucified. You'll throw him in prison and take the bad guy, the evil man. That's why and he said, why does Jeremiah in chapter 6 say her evil swells up inside of her like a freshwater well, but she still got her fresh evil on the inside? Because that water that she speaks out of there is all evil to get that man, that other idol man, that other idol, that other God. it's all fresh evil for him. But she got to speak evil to get him. He said, you can't speak evil to Yahusha. Yahusha going to rebuke you to your face. He gonna tukar to your face. But that evil man, he going to love your evil that you speak. And then guess what? He going to take your evil. And he going to be all in your evil. And guess what? In the house of your code, there's sins. Yet they seek me daily to the light to know my way. He said, man, they seek me daily. They pray morning, noon, and evening. Matter of fact, Bakar and Arab, they always there. They delight to know my ways. As if they are a nation that did righteousness. They are establishing their own righteousness. Never done it in their life. Why do you think Yahushua was being crucified? Why do you think they were delivering him up to die? And did not forsake the judgment of their Elohim. They did forsake the judgment of their Elohim, because Yahuwah said, I cast judgment on you. Matter of fact, I put judgment. He said, matter of fact, surround the daughters of Tsyun right now with the shepherds and everything, and attack at noon. Why do you think he said attack at noon? Because Yahuwah was like, okay, I'm listening to Yasharal and Yehuda say, crucify my son, but make sure you get the shepherds around and make sure you attack at noon. They asked of me righteous judgments. They delight to draw near to Elohim. Why have we fasted and you see it not? He said, man, we did all this. Why have we humbled ourselves and you take no knowledge? He said, we did all that. Behold, in the days of your fast, you seek your own pleasure. He said, you got a fresh water well and you got evil inside of you. He said, you still got your fresh evil though. And oppress all your workers. He said, you still got your fresh evil on the inside, Yasharal and Yehuda. Behold, you fast only to quarrel and to fight. Man, crucify him. He deserves death. And what else? And to hit with the wicked fist. He said that's all they do. They fast to hit you in the face. That's why you think Yasharal and Yehuda punched Yahusha in the face? Why you think Yasharal and Yehuda punched him in the face? Why you think Yehuda did that? His old treacherous sister Yehuda. Didn't Yasharal kill all the Nabi'im? But then what did Yehuda do? Yehuda knew that Yasharal killed all the Nabi'im, and know that Shaluma had transgressed the bar and got the garment split and according to 1 Kings 17. And what? And he gave 2 tribes of Rehoboam and other 10 to Jeroboam. They already knew what Yasharal did, but then guess what Yehuda did? The same thing. Behold, you fast only to quarrel and fight and to hit with the wicked fist. That's all they did with Yahusha. They wicked. You got your fresh water well with your fresh evil. Fast like yours this day will not make your voice be heard on high. That's the only reason people fast. He said, I don't want to hear nothing you say. In such a fast that I chose, a day for a person to humble himself, is it to bow down his head like a reed and to spread sackcloth and ashes unto him? Will you call this a fast? A day acceptable to Yahuwah? He looking at that. Right, go back to Matthew chapter 27. Matthew chapter 27 and Matthew 27:25. Matthew 27 and 27:27. Then the soldiers of the governor took Yahusha to the governor's headquarters, and they gathered the whole battalion before him, and they stripped him and put on a scarlet robe and twisted a crown of thorns, and they put a reed in his right hand. And kneeling before him, they mocked him. What did they say? Saying, Hail, Malaka the Yahudim. He say, man, you the king of Yehuda, right? Ain't you the king of Yehuda? Ain't you my husband? Hail, Malaka the Yahudim. They start mocking their husband. He started mocking their husband. Yehuda started mocking their husband. Hail, Malaka the Yahudim. They started mocking the leader. And they spit on him and took a reed and struck him in the head. He said, all you do is fast and hit with a wicked fist. And guess what they did? And when they had mocked him, they stripped him of his robe and put on him clothes on him and led him away to be crucified. They stripped all his clothes. They ripped all his clothes off. They were fighting, hit him in the head with a wicked fist, ripped off his clothes and his shirt, and then they led him away to crucify him. Let him be put to death. And as they went out, they found a man of Cyrene, Simon by name, and they compelled him to carry his cross. And when they came to the place called Golgotha, which is the place of skulls, they offered him wine to drink mixed with gall. Right? So what's all this important? Verse 27, go to Matthew 27:45. Now from the 6th hour there was darkness of the land to the 9th hour. He said, man, what did he tell Yirmiyahu in 6? He said, man, surround the daughters of Tsyun and attack her at noon. Attack her at noon. Because, it's the prayer time. Everybody like to pray at noon. He said, matter of fact, attack her at noontime. Why? Because she got a fresh water well, but she still got her fresh evil on the inside of that well. And everything that come out of her mouth, it ain't a well spring of the everlasting life. Right? Going to Yuchanan chapter 8, chapter 4. Yuchanan chapter 4 and verse Yuchanan chapter 4 and verse 12. Yuchanan chapter 4 and verse 11. Yuchanan chapter 4 verse 11. Yuchanan chapter 4 and verse 11. Actually, Yuchanan chapter 4 and verse 10. Let's go to verse 7. A woman from Samaria came and draw water. Yahusha said to her, give me a drink. You sure you want something to drink from that well? It's a fresh water well, but this woman got that fresh evil on the inside. That fresh raw on the inside of her water. For the disciples, and he says, the Samaritan woman said to him, how is it that you, a Yahudi, ask for drink from me, a woman of Samaria? That's what these people say. Ain't you a son of Elohim? Is there not a woman in Yasharal you should be talking to? But he says, for the Yahudim have no dealing with Samaritans. Yahusha answered her, if you knew the gift of Elohim and who it is that is saying to you, give me a drink, you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water. Because you sure can't give me no living water. And guess what he said? The woman said to him, sir, you have nothing to draw water with, and the well is deep. He said, man, the well real deep. Where do you get that living water? Why do you think they had to get Yirmiyahu out with 30 men? He said, how are you going to get him out of there? He said, are you greater than our father Yaakov? He said, man, you greater than our father Yaakov? Because our father Yaakov, man, he was strong. He had calves like a giant, according to Joseph Asenau. He said, man, he was able to, man, you greater than Yaakov? Man, Yaakov was real strong. Are you like him? He gave us the well and drank from it himself, as his sons and his livestock. He said, everybody drank from that wine. Everybody drank from that well. But he said, this well that Yehuda got in Yirmiyahu 6, he said, it's a deep well, freshwater well. But that thing still got fresh evil on the inside. And guess what he said? Yahusha said to her, everyone who drinks of this water will be thirsty again. But whoever drinks of the water that I give him will never be thirsty again. He said, you'll never be thirsty again. The water that I give him will become in him like springs of water welling up to eternal life. That's why Yahusha said, he that believes on me, as the scripture said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water, not fresh evil water. Fresh water with fresh evil on the inside. That's why the things that the person will speak will be of wisdom and kindness, just like Proverbs chapter 31 says. Because wisdom, the root of wisdom is found inside of them. And guess what? The water that I give him with a spring well unto every eternal life. The woman said to him, sir, give me this water so that I may be thirsty, not be thirsty, or have to come here to draw water. Wouldn't you want that water? You never had to go to the store and pay $5 for some bottled water because the other water poison. You would love to have that water because you're like, man, I ain't got to spend no more money. I ain't got to get no $40 to get no real water, right? You ain't got to do it no more. Yahusha said to her, go call your husband and come here. He said, go call your husband, because you know when you got a fresh water well, but it still got fresh evil in it, you got to be real careful talking to a woman like that. That's why he said, gather around, get the shepherds and get around the daughters of Tsyun. Matter of fact, lay siege to it. He said, an attack at noon. Because she got fresh water well, but it's fresh evil. Yahusha said to her, go call your husband and come here. Guess what? You know what comes out of, how come out of fresh water well, they got fresh evil? The woman answered him, I have no husband, because it come out lying. They're going to start lying out of their mouth. That's what happens. You start lying. and you start lying, that fresh water well turned to fresh evil. You start lying. Yahushua said to her, you are right in saying I have no husband, for you have 5 husbands, and the one you now have is not your husband. I told you Yahushua going to rebuke you. He going to call you. He not going to sit there and let you just speak some fresh evil water to his face. And you going to put him in prison. You going to throw Yahushua in prison. That's why they said we want Barabbas. We want the bad. We want the man who be lying to us. I want the man who lie, cheat, steal, the one who don't care about me. I want that person, the one that tricks me. I want that person to do that. I want that lover. I don't want Yahushua Mashiach. I don't want Yahuwah and his son. That's what happens. I don't want Yahuwah and his son. I don't want him to be no leader of me. And guess what he said? For you have 5 husbands, and the one you have is not your husband. What you have said is true. The woman said to him, Sir, I perceive that you are a Nabi, because he ain't one going to nabalize in Yahuwah's name. He said, he not going to nabalize in Yahuwah's name. But you know it was a Nabi who wasn't you know if it was a Nabi that wasn't of Yahuwah, you know what that Nabi would have said? This is what the Nabi would have said to this woman. Yahushua said to her, go call your husband and come here. Right? What the Nabi would have said? What's your name? Let's get together. Let's be together. I'll tell you about this living water. The woman answered him, I have no husband. For real? You ain't got no husband? For real? Hey, you know what? This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna get together tonight. Right? That's what a lying Nabi was. Lying Nabi, if you're a real Nabi, you ain't gonna do that. Yahushua said to her, you are right in saying I have no husband. You right? You got no husband. For you have 5 husbands, and the one you now have is not your husband. That's how you know he ain't nabbing and lies in Yahuwah's name. You a liar. That's what a real Nabi gonna do. But you know the ones that nabba lies, they gonna speak smooth words, nabba deceit, and then guess what they gonna do? You already know what they're gonna do. And guess what? And the one you now have is not your husband. What you have said is true. And the woman said to her, Sir, I perceive that you are Nabi. Our fathers worship in this mountain, but you say in Jerusalem is the place where people ought to worship. Nobody gonna believe in Yahuwah Elohim and Yahushua and the commandments if you nabbing lies in her face. They not. If you nabba deceit, speaking smooth words in deceit, you a false Nabi'im. Because they're not gonna, what do you think they're gonna do? You think they're gonna believe on him? No, that woman say, after he rebuked her, he was like, hold up now. Sir, I perceive you a Nabi now. You done told me stuff about myself. He said, our fathers worship in this mountain, but you say in Jerusalem is a place where people ought to worship. Yahushua said to her, woman, believe me. The hour is coming when neither in this mountain nor in Jerusalem you worship the Father. That's how you know people believe on you. That's how you know people are interested. Believe in Yahushua Mashiach. You have to rebuke them to their face, and they be like, man, I perceive you a Nabi. You just told me everything about myself. Matter of fact, what's the place you go to? What is Jerusalem, right? He said, you worship, you do not know. He said, that's why you still lying. We know what we worship for salvation is from the Yahudim. But the hour is coming, and now is here, when the true worshipers will worship Yahuwah in Ruach and in truth. Worship the Father. For the Ab seeketh such to worship him. That's why the Father got to be at the highest point. That's why Yahuwah got to be at the highest point. That's why the Father got to be in the house. That's why the Father in your house has to be at the highest point, so everything can grow. If he not, then you're going to have a goddess at the highest point. You know when the goddess gets at the highest point, you already know what's going to happen to you. Off with his head. Yochanan gonna kill you. That woman gonna kill you. It's not lawful for you to have your brother's wife. Oh, she finna cut your head off. Right? You say something, right? You gonna die. You gonna be running like all Yahoo, like Isabel. You see when they in power, you see what's gonna happen to you. You're gonna run for your life. But the hour is coming, and now is here, when the true worshipers will worship Yahuwah, the Father, in Ruach and in truth. For the Father seeketh such to worship him. Elohim is a Ruach, and those who worship him must worship him in Ruach and in truth. Why he told me to surround the daughters of Solomon? He said, attack at noon. Elohim is Ruach, and those who worship him must worship him in Ruach and in truth. And the woman said to him, I know that Mashiach is coming. When he comes, he will tell us all things. Yahusha said to her, I who speak to you am he. Right? So all this is important. So why is all this important? Going back to Jeremiah chapter 6, Jeremiah chapter 6 and verse 11. Jeremiah chapter 6 and verse 11. And it says, therefore I am full of the wrath of Yahuwah. I am weary of holding it in. Pour it upon the children of the street and upon the gatherings of the young men also. He say, even on them. Both husband and wife shall be taken, and the elderly and the very aged. Their houses shall be turned over to others, and their fields and their wives together. For I will stretch out my hand against the inhabitants of the land, declares Yahuwah. Why? Why is he going to do all that? He said, so he's going to stretch out all the inhabitants of the land because of what? Why is he going to do that? Because of the daughters of Tsyun. He's going to do all that because of his two women. Because of Yasharal and Yehuda. Because of this bride. He said, I'm going to destroy everything because of the woman. He said, I'm going to destroy it all. Why? Going to verse 8. Jeremiah 6 and 8. Be warned, O Jerusalem, lest I turn against you in disgust, lest I make you a desolation and an uninhabited land. Thus says you of hosts, they shall glean thorough as a vine the remnant of Yasharal, like a grape gathers past your hand again, over its branches. To whom shall I speak and give warning, that they may hear? Behold, their ears are uncircumcised. He said, man, they got that thing so covered. That's why people wear all these headphones and put all in their head. He said, man, their ears uncircumcised. That's why people don't hear you anymore. Behold, they cannot listen. Behold, the word of Yahuwah is to them an object of scorn. They take no pleasure in it. And we just read in Yeshayahu 58. He said, they delight to know your ways. They come to you as your people. They fast too. He said, they did all that. But he said, they stop their ears up. They take no pleasure in it. Therefore, I am full of the wrath of Yahuwah. I am weary of holding it in. To pour out it upon the children in the street, and upon the gatherings of the young men also. Both husband and wife shall be taken, the elderly and the very aged. Their houses shall be turned over to others, their fields and wives together. For I will stretch out my hand against the inhabitants of the land, declares Yahuwah, from the least to the greatest of them. That's how Yahuwah feel when his two brides get messed up. When you mess up his family, Yahuwah will be like, I'm gonna mess up yours. I'm gonna destroy your junk. I'm gonna destroy everything y'all got. Yahuwah like, I'm finna mess y'all up too. You messed up mine. So why should yours be functional? That's how he looked. Why should your family and your stuff be functional when you destroyed my family? That's how he looked. He said, man, surround the daughters of Tsyun. You surrounded. He said, what? You know how when they call the officers and they surround you? You surrounded. He said, I ain't do nothing. You surrounded. And he was like, surround the daughters of Tsyun now. You surrounded now. And attack at noon. For the least to the greatest of them, everyone is greedy of unjust gain. Everybody, that's all you're thinking about. You just think about your gaining your money rather than my family being messed up. He like, my family messed up. So you just think about your money and your gain. And from the Nabi to priest, everyone deals falsely. And you got these false Nabi'im. I had dreamed. Then you got all these people just collecting money. All you care about is your gain, your money, and what you got. That's it. And guess what? They have healed the wound of my people lightly. He's like, look what you done did. Saying shalom, shalom, when there is no shalom. Were they ashamed when they committed abominations? No. They were not all ashamed. They did not know how to blush. He said, they still don't know how to blush. He said, please blush. please blush. Right? This is 2 Kings chapter 11 and verse 1. He said, please blush at me. He said, please blush. Shani Malakim 11 and 1. 2 Kings 11 and 1. Now when Athaliah, the mother of Azariah, saw her son was dead, he's like, man, she saw her son was dead. What happened? She did. She arose and destroyed all the royal family. He's like, man, you were like, being that you done did that, I'm going to destroy you. Surround the daughters of Tsyun. He said, I'm going to surround you. You're surrounded now. What are you surrounded by? He said, how you know the daughters of Tsyun are surrounded? This is Hebrews 11 and 1. Hebrews 11 and 1. Hebrews 11 and 1. He said, the daughters of Tsyun are you're surrounded. Right? He said, you're surrounded. Actually, Hebrews 12 and 1. Hebrews 12 and 1. He said, man, I surrounded you. He said, how are he surrounding you right now? Hebrews 12 and 1. Therefore, since we are surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses, he said, I'm surrounding you with so many witnesses. He said, ain't no way in the world. You know how I say, you surrounded. I ain't do nothing. Well, I got all these witnesses around you. I got all these witnesses around you, surrounding you. Just like how that's like a person be surrounded when they did a crime and all of the police around you. He said, I've surrounded you with witnesses. Let us also lay aside every weight and the sin that's clinging so closely to us. Notice how when people get arrested and many things around them and they surrounded, they start throwing things out the window. They start hiding under the table. They start throwing it out the car when you got a police chase. They start doing all these things. Why? Because they start getting rid of stuff. Because you're surrounded. You're surrounded. There's no escape. You know what I'm saying? There is no escape. He said, surround the daughters of Tsyun now. Matter of fact, attack them at noon. Because they got a fresh water well. But it's fresh evil on the inside. It says, sin which clings so closely, and let us run the endurance race that is set before us. See, this is a marathon. This ain't no, I'm finna get pleasure today and then go do what I want to do the next day. No. It's an endurance race that is set before us. It's more than it's a 2-mile walk, then you gotta walk another 2 miles. Then another 2 miles, right? That's how it is. Looking to Yahushua, the founder and perfecter of our Amunah. That's why he said perfecting Qahalath in the fear of Yahuwah. Because if you can't, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross. Endured the totality of for who? Yasharal and Yehuda. The 2 women that beat him down. Yeah, his 2 brides beat him down. Like then they struck him in the head. Naba you Mashiach, who hit you? Because he know he ain't going to naba lies. That's why they did it. He ain't going to naba lies in Yahuwah's name. That's why they smacked him in the head and say, Naba you Mashiach, who hit you? So they beat him down. They beat down his 2 women, beat him down. They set him up. Yasharal and Yehuda. And he upset. He upset. He's like, y'all beat me down. And guess what he said? Hebrews 12 and 2. Looking to Yahushua, the founder and perfecter of our Amunah, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, because they put him on the shame. We laid on him the iniquity of all Yasharal and Yehuda and the whole world. He said, despising shame, which means he cast it away for you. And is seated at the right hand of Elohim, the throne of Elohim. Man, you are poor. You know how it says. You old broke Yahushua. You know how he is. You poor now. Right? You're not even knowing about Yahushua, right? Right? This is the book of Matthew. He said, why Yahushua did this? Yahushua was skilled in what he did. This is Matthew 8 and 18. Matthew chapter 8 and 18. Now when Yahushua saw the crowd around him, he gave orders to go over to the other side. And the scribes came up and said to him, Teacher, I will follow you wherever you go. Now you saw they followed Yahushua everywhere he went. And we read in the book of Hazon. These are virgins who follow Yahushua everywhere he went. But you know what they did? And Yahushua said to him, Foxes have holes and the birds of the air have nests, but the son of Adam has nowhere to lay his head. What woman want to be with a man who poor and ain't got nowhere to lay his head? Because Yahuwah was in the Son, reconciling the world to himself. So in order to reconcile Yasharal and Yehuda to himself, he had to pretend to be poor. He had to pretend to be poor in order to reconcile them, because they love their trinkets and their things, and he said they love it. So therefore, I got to pretend I'm poor in order to get you to come back. He said, I ain't got nowhere to lay my head. He ain't got no house to live in. Amazingly, Yahushua had no house to live in, no nothing, and he had more women following him than you do. And another disciple said to him, Master, let me go first and bury my father. He said, I follow Yahushua everywhere he went. You sure? Let me go bury my mother. Let me go bury my father. Are you sure? And Yahushua said to him, follow me and leave the dead to bury your own dead. You saying you follow Yahushua everywhere he went? Can you do that? Can you do that? That's a whole nother thing. See, can you do that though? He said, man, why would he do that? Going back to 2 Kings, chapter 22. Actually, yeah. He said, why he do all that? Because that's all important. Because everything he did was for a reason. He endured that too. He despised and shamed. He was a broke man. Think about how shameful that is. You ain't got no house. You ain't got nothing. And you talking about enduring the cross? You talking about enduring the cross? All right, going back to 2 Kings, Malachim 11:1. Shani, Malachim 11:1. It says, now when Athaliah, the mother of Azariah, saw that her son was dead, she arose and destroyed all the royal family. That's what people have done after Yahushua died. The father ain't had no son, so the inheritance go to the daughter. Then they start killing all the sons, not even knowing you're wrong. And guess what? She destroyed all the royal family. And Yahoo, that's how you know you ain't got your Mashiach on the inside of you. You ain't put him on, because you starting to kill all the sons. You starting to kill all the males. You trying to take them down. That's how you know you ain't got them in the inside. Or Satan is on the inside of you and he ruling over them. So Shaba, the daughter of the king, Yoram's sister Azariah, took Joash, the son of Azariah, and stole him away from among the king's sons who were being put to death. Let him be put, and when they killed him, when they said Yahushua, let him be crucified. Let him be crucified. Notice how this woman rising up. Let him be crucified. Just like how Yahushua died, with Yasharal and Yehuda. Just how Yirmiyahu died. You know, if I tell you, Yehuda, you already know you're going to still put me to death, though. You still going to put me to death. And she put him and his nurse in a bedroom, right? Thus, they hid him from Athaliah. That's what you're going to have to do. He said, I got to hide you from this psychopath who got Shaitan on the inside of her, so that he was not put to death. And he remained with her 6 years. And how many Shabbats we counted to the 50th day? 6. We had 7 Shabbats. But he said we went 6 Shabbats, right? Hidden in the house of Yahuwah while Athaliah reigned over the land. She was reigning over the land. She had to kill everybody, though, to do it. And guess what? But in the 7th year, and we got to the 7th Shabbat yesterday, Yahushua sent and brought the captains of the Karites and the guards and had them come to him in the house of Yahuwah, and he made a covenant, a bereath with them, and put them under oath in the house of Yahuwah, and he showed them the king's son. He's like, you see the king's son right here? Who do you think that is? They showed him the king's son. He said, what? He said, man, I show you the king's son. So what happened with that? Right, so this is the book of Luke. I think it's book of Luke. The book of Luke. I think it's Luke. Yeah. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 21 and verse 41. Matthew, chapter 21 and 45. Matthew 21, 45. 21 and 35. Matthew 21, 35. And the tenants took his servants and beat one. And then what did Yahushua? They beat his behind. They did all of that. Then they did the Yirmiyahu. They took his servant and beat one. What happened? What else? What else did the bride do? What else did Yasharal and Yehuda do? The woman. And the tenant took his servant and beat one, and killed another, and stoned another. That's what his bride did in him. That's how you know them not being the truth. If they not been lies, ain't nobody trying to stone them. Ain't nobody trying to do nothing to them. And again, he sent other servants more than the first. He sent more. And they did the same to them. Finally, he sent his son. He sent the king's son. Man, he sent his son, the king. He had to hide him first. Then he sent his son. And guess what happened? What he said? They will respect my son, saying they will respect my son. Nah. But when the tenant saw the son, that's why he think he hid it from Athaliah. He's like, I got to hide the son from Athaliah. Because you know what happened? When she saw the son, they said to themselves, this is the heir. He said, this is the heir. Come, let us kill him. That's what the bride going to do. He said, no way. We got to kill all the sons, all the males, and all the man, and we got to destroy him. Let us kill him and have his inheritance. How do you think Athaliah took the throne? Why didn't they kill Yahushua? They wanted to take his throne. They wanted his inheritance. And they took him and threw him out of the vineyard and killed him. They threw you out the house. They threw you out the vineyard, and they killed him. And when, therefore, the owner of the vineyard comes, what do you think Yahuwah going to do to you? What will he do to those tenants? He said, what do you think he's going to do to them? Surround the daughters of Tsyun. Attack at noon. Why? They said to him, he will put those wretches to a miserable death. What do you think Yahushua going to do to you? People say, what do you mean? Yahushua will never hit a woman. Yahushua will never kill nobody. Are you sure? He's full of compassion and mercy and truth right now. But I assure you, he's thinking about what Yasharal and Yehuda did to him. You remember what they did? That treacherous sister Yahuda. You remember what she did? You remember what Yasharal did, that old treacherous Yasharal and that Yehuda? You see what Yehuda did, that old treacherous Yehuda? She saw what Yasharal did to the Nabi'im, and she did the same thing to Yahushua Mashiach. And guess what he said? When therefore the owner of that vineyard comes, what will he do to those tenants? They said to him, he will put those wretches to a miserable death, and let out the vineyard to other tenants who will give him their fruits in their season. That's why he said, return, O Yasharal. He said, return, O Yasharal, for I will not be angry always. But that woman Yehuda, you see what she did to me? You see what Yehuda did to me? Man, he said, Yasharal has shown herself more righteous than Yehuda. He like, please. Yahushua said to them, have you never read the scriptures? The stone which the builders rejected became the cornerstone. He's like, man, have you not read? This is Yahuwah's doing, and it's marvelous in your eyes. Therefore, I tell you, the Malchus of Elohim will be taken away from you, and given to a people producing its fruits. And the one who falls on this stone will be broken into pieces and will fall on anyone, it will crush him. And guess what happened? This is how the daughters of Tsyun need to be in their heart and their mind. This is how Yasharal and Yehuda need to be. When the chief priests and the Pharisees heard this parable, they perceived he was speaking about them. He's like, yeah, he's talking about you. He's talking about you. He is. And although they were seeking to arrest him, see, everybody always trying to get you arrested, get you thrown in prison, because he was speaking the truth. They feared the crowds. He said, that's the only reason. He said, they feared the crowds. If I do put him in prison, it's going to be reported that I did it. And then all the people are going to know that I put him in prison. And it's going to be all on the news, on the media, all throughout the whole world, and then my name is going to be right next to it. They feared the crowds because they held him as a Nabi, because he ain't no lying Nabi. He ain't no lying Nabi. He going to nabba the truth to you who speak. He ain't going to put out but lies in my sight. How long will this be in the dream of the Nabi'im? I have dreamed. If you're a Nabi, tell a dream. And amazingly, here's Yahusha speaking his debar faithfully. And then not even knowing that every dream that every Nabi'im has had, even throughout the Torah, was all about him. Not even knowing that, right? This is Kings. He says, so why is this important? Going back to 2 Kings. Going back to 2 Kings, there's a moral to the story. There's a moral to the story, right? Going back to 2 Kings, chapter 11 and verse 2 Kings chapter 11 verse 4. But the 7th year, Yahuyadah sent and brought the captains of the Karites and the guards and had them come to him in the house of Yahuwah. And he made a covenant with them, and he put them under oath in the house of Yahuwah, and he showed them the king's son. Surely they're going to respect my son. And he commanded them, this is the thing that you shall do. 1/3 of you, those who come off duty on the Shabbat and guard the king's house, another third being at the gate of Sur, and a third at the gate behind the guards shall guard the palace. He said 1/3, a third. And 2 divisions of you, which come on duty in force on the Shabbat and guard the house of Yahuwah on behalf of the king, shall surround the king. They're going to do what? They're going to surround the king, each with his weapon in his hand. He said, man, surround the king's son. He said, man, surround the king's son. Why do you think Kyle took a sword and cut off the right ear of Malchus? He cut his ear right off. Man, surround the son. He said, man, if my kingdom was of this world, my servants will fight for me. Ain't what Yahushua said? He said, my servants will fight for me. That's the king's son. Are you serious? That's Yahuwah's son. Are you serious? And he said, why he picked Kyle? Kyle cut you in half, man. That's why he put him in there. Right? And guess what? And guess what he did? He said, man, I'll defend you against this woman. That's what Kyle said. I'll defend you against this woman. They brought Yashua and Yehuda. Athaliah, I cut Athaliah in pieces. You see what he just said? So remember, just like Shemuel, nice and lovely and kind. That man y'all have no idea. When Yahushua come back here, man, woman, child, don't matter who you is, he will never do that to his bride. I said, okay. Watch out. Right? Verse 7. And the 2 divisions of you, which, right, going to verse, those who come off duty on the Shabbat and guard the king's house, and on the 3rd being at the gate of Sur, and the 3rd at the gate behind the guards, shall guard the palace. And the 2 divisions of you, which come on duty in force on the Shabbat and guard the house of Yahuwah on behalf of the king, shall surround the king. So he called the son the king, the little boy, each with his weapon in his hand. And whoever approaches the ranks is to be put to death. Now you see why the mountains, he said the mountains ablaze at the edges of the mountains. He said, you touch it, you die. You know what he said to Mashah? He said, you touch this mountain, I'm going to kill all y'all. He said, I'll destroy you. You touch the edge of this mountain, you want animal too. I'm going to kill all y'all. You touch the king's son again, you finna touch the king's son. People have no idea. And whosoever approaches the ranks is to be put to death, because with the king, when he goes out and when he comes in. So you think Yahushua ain't got no guards surrounding him? You go ahead and you try, you want to. He got Malakim, right? He got Malakim, right? You mess around, you gonna die. The captain did according to all that Yahusha the priest commanded. And they each brought in men who were to go off duty on the Shabbat, with those who were to come on duty on the Shabbat, and came to Yahushua the Kohanim. And the priest gave the captains the spears and the shields that had been in King David's, which were in the house of Yahuwah. So they had weapons in the house of Yahuwah, right? And guess what? And the guards stood, every man with his weapons in his hand, from the south side of the house of Yahuwah to the north side of the house of Yahuwah, around the altar and the house on behalf of the king. And then he brought out the king's son. So please don't be thinking anything. He said, man, this is the heir. And he put a crown on him and gave him the testimony. He gave him what? He gave him the Aydah. He gave him a testimony. And they proclaimed him Malach and anointed him. Why do you think the woman anointed Yahushua with an alabaster box? That man was anointed Malach of Yahshua, Malach of Yehuda. And they clapped their hands and said, long live the Malach, the king, Malach. And when Athaliah heard the noise of the guard, see, when you start talking about Yahushua Mashiach, long live Yahushua Mashiach, the ruler of all men on earth. And Athaliah will be ruled by him. Right? They don't want to hear that. You will no longer rule. Right? When Athaliah heard the noise of the guard, when you start to proclaim Yahushua Mashiach, what happened? And the people, they heard the people too. She went into the house of Yahuwah to the people. She went in. I'm going up in here. She heard the noise and the guard. She went up in there, and when she looked, there was the king standing by the pillar. He said, man, she looked in, she saw him in the pillar, according to the custom. Of what? According to the custom. She was standing right by the pillar. What pillar he talking about? Right, this is the book of Bereshit, chapter 28. Bereshit, Genesis, chapter 28. Genesis, chapter 28. Bereshit, Genesis, chapter 28, and verse 18. Bereshit, Genesis 28, 18. So early in the morning, Yaakov took the stone that had been put under his head and set it up for a pillar. And poured oil on top of it. When he anointed king, and when he said he was right next to a pillar. And he poured oil on top of it. Where do you think they get that stuff from? And get what he said. And he called the name of that place Bethel. He's like, man, look at here, the king back. The son is back in the house. But the name of the city was called Luz at the first. Then Yaakov made a vow saying, if Elohim will be with me and keep me in the way that I should go. See, we made a vow to Yahuwah, defer not to pay. For Yahuwah had no pleasure in fools, and I will give and will give me bread to eat. And clothing to wear, right? You gotta have food and raiment, be content. You know what we said? Food and raiment. So that I come again to my father's house in Shalom. You know what the son just did? He just came right back to the palace, to the house of Elohim. And they gave him a crown on his head, and they anointed him king right next to the pillar. You know what he did to the son? Because he the heir. Then Yahuwah shall be my Elohim. He put it back on him. So how is a woman going to understand this if she don't believe the way it's written? How he going to be your Elohim? That's the only way he going to be your Elohim. And this stone which I have set up for a pillar shall be Elohim's house. Why do you think that son was sitting right there now? He like, and he was a little boy. He like, man, he had so many guards around him. You dare touch him, you dead. And of all you give me, I will give a full tenth to you. He said, man, I'm going to give all that you give me. I'm going to give you a full tenth. He said, what did that got to do with anything? Because he vowed that vow. That was Yaakov's vow. Right? Because Yaakov loved Yahuwah. He said, man, this is my vow to you. He said, I'm gonna do exactly just like that. Right? And when you start to have that type of mind, Yahuwah start loving you, man. You have no idea. Going back to 2 Kings chapter 11, verse 13. Malachim, 2 Kings chapter 11, verse 13. And when Athaliah heard the noise of the guard of the people, she went into the house of Yahuwah to the people. And when she looked, there was the king standing by the pillar according to the custom, and the captains and the trumpeters beside the king. And all the people of the land rejoicing with blowing in Turah. So that means all that, you know how it is. Saul killed his 1,000, David his 10,000, right? You know how it is. You start to see that one. You start to see that man getting all that kabod and honor, like David when he had the Ark of the Covenant, right? And his wife came in there like, you uncover yourself like the lewd fellows, right? And you say you like one of them other men out here in the world. He's like, nah, I did this for Yahuwah, right? When she heard the blowing of the Turah, and Athaliah tore her clothes and cried. Right? She went from being that masculine man, that masculine man that was ruling over everybody, killing everybody. She went right back to a crying little baby. Then lost her little party. You know how it is? It's my party and I cry if I want to. It ain't your party no more. And now, guess what happened? And Athaliah tore her clothes and cried, treason, treason. This is my party. This is supposed to be me. Sitting there with the pillar, with the guards, with the anointing oil on my head, and everything that he has. It's my honor and it's my rulership. I killed so many people to get that spot. Right? You know how many people she had to kill to get that spot? You know how it is. I mean, guess what? What today is? Shabua. Matter of fact, we just went to the seventh Shabbat, right? Then Yahushua the priest commanded the captains who were set out over the army, bring her out between the ranks. So when Yahushua come back here, a lot of people people have no idea. A lot of Isha and Nashim think you're going to just take his throne. A lot of Ish and men think you're going to take his throne. When Yahuwah get back here, I assure you, you will not be doing that. A lot of people want to put themselves up there. You be happy being third string. You say, I'm gonna be the best third string you ever seen, boy. You be like Rudy. You ever seen the movie Rudy? Man, I'm gonna be the best third string you ever seen, right? You're gonna be on the bench because you have to understand this whole thing. Then Yahushua the priest commanded the captain who were set over his army, bring her out between the ranks and put to death with the sword anyone who follows her. Now you see why he said what he said in the book of Hazon with Isabel, son of Baal. He said all the people who she taught, I'm going to throw all her men in great tribulation, and I'm going to kill her children dead. And people say, what? That's what he said in Revelation, Hazon chapter 2. He said, I'm going to kill your children dead, and everybody who follow her. So you telling me you want to follow a woman like that? Who see all this rejoicing in things, and then she going to come out there and start running her mouth, get Yahushua Mashiach, and you going to follow her. I remember somebody tried to get me to come somewhere. They tried to get me out. They heard my songs. I guess they heard my music. They told me, yeah, come to Jamaica and I'll teach you immerse. I said, man, what in the world wrong with these people send me messages? But I rebuked her sharply. How you say? These are all foolishness, right? And guess what? You follow her. Guess what's going to happen to you when you come back here? She's going to kill you. Because you signed off on it. He said, you not only do them, but have pleasure in those who do it, right? I said, man, what is wrong with people today? I said, man, not me. I said, you picked the wrong person. Right? You know how it is. But it says, then Yahushua the priest commanded the captain who was set over the army, bring her out between the ranks and put to death with sword anyone who follows her. That's why you want to put out no false teaching. Boy, look at here. Boy, you and Isha, and you put out some false teaching you want to. That's the end, boy. When you should get back here, boy, people have no idea. You better not. For the Kohanim said, let her not be put to death in the house of Yahuwah. He said, man, don't let her be put to death in the house of Yahuwah, though. Why didn't they kill Yahushua in the house of Yahuwah? Why didn't they do it? So they laid hands on her, and she went through the horse's entrance to the king's house. And then what they did with Yahushua? They did the same thing. They bound him up and they took him to be crucified too. Why do you think Yahusha died? For Athaliah? For her behavior and what she did? Even though she killed the sons to take the throne, women like that, he said, I had to fulfill the Torah to pardon and redeem you. You telling me I can do that myself? No. And there she was put to death. She did what? They laid hands on her and she went through the horse's entrance to the king's house, and there they put her to death. That's what Yahushua gonna do when he get back here. And Yahushua made a covenant, made a covenant between Yahuwah and the king and the people. Why do you think Yahushua, he said he made a covenant, a bereath between Yahuwah, the king, and the people. Ain't that something? The head of every man is Mashiach. The head of the king, Yahusha, is Yahuwah and the people. Ain't that something? Right there in 2 Kings chapter 11, verse 17. And Yahushua made a covenant between Yahuwah and the king, Yahusha Mashiach, and the people. And they should be Yahuwah's people. Ain't that something? I'll have you know. Right? This is 2 Corinthians 11. I think it's he said, man, he would say. Actually, 1 Kings. 1 Corinthians, I'm sorry. He said, 1 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 2. 1 Corinthians chapter 11 verse 2. Now I command you, because you remember me in everything and maintain the traditions, even as I delivered them to you. And then what they said, they anointed him king, put the pillar next to him and crown on his head. And they had the teruahs and the trumpets and everything. And guess what they did? It was according to the custom. Was it not? And then Athaliah like, no, this is not the way the order should be. Are you sure, Athaliah? And you see that right there. Now I command you to, because you remember me in everything and maintain the traditions, even as I delivered them to you. But I want you to understand that the head of Mashiach is, the head of man is Mashiach, Yahushua. Who was the head of all them soldiers? That was guarding the king's son. Yahushua Mashiach. And who's the head of Mashiach? Yahuwah himself. And the head of the Isha is her husband. He said, man, where your husband at? I ain't got one. I got 5 husbands. I got no husband. He said, you right. You got 5, and the one you got ain't your husband. So therefore, you ain't got nothing. You ain't nothing. You just a liar. You got a freshwater well with fresh evil on the inside. I need to give you some living water. Where your husband at? Because you're a liar, right? These are all a part of it. And the head of Mashiach is Elohim, Yahuwah. See? This is all a part of it. He says, so what does this got to do with anything? Going back to 2 Kings 11. He says, so what does this got to do with all things? 2 Kings 11 and 1. We almost finished. 2 Kings 11 and 1. 11 and 17. 11 and 17. And Yahushua made a covenant between Yahuwah and the king and the king and the people. And that they should be Yahuwah's people. That's the only way you're going to be Yahuwah's people. That's the only way. And also between the king and the people. So what you think? How you gonna be Yahuwah's people? Yahuwah, the Mashiach, Yahusha's king, and everybody else, the people. That's the only way, male and female, in the ark, with the Father and the Son. That's the only way. And the king and the people. So what do you mean make it in between the king and the people? Then all the people of the land went to the house of Baal and tore it down. See, that was the whole point of it. Once you get back to this understanding, you're supposed to go to the house of Baal and tear that thing down. Because that trash need to go in the book Kudroom. They need to throw that junk in the garbage. It need to go in the Nakalah Kudroom. That's where it need to go. That's why Yahushua always passed by the Nakalah Kudroom. They be like, why he always over there? Because that's where they need to throw that stuff at. the remnants of Baal, right? The house of Baal, and tear that stuff down, right? Guess what happens? His altars and his images, and they broke it in pieces. And what they do after that? And people say, what's going to happen? And they killed Matan, the priest of Baal, before the altar. See, this is the part that, this is, sometimes, why people don't want to do that? Because that's their father. That's their mother. That's their son. Their son became a pastor, a priest, and now he done brung up Baal, and they don't want to say nothing. That's why. You don't want your hand, don't want to be first. See, this is the part that you don't want to do. You follow Yahushua everywhere he went. You show. They're going to put you out. They're going to cast you out of your father and mother, going to throw you out of your house, right? You know how it says? Foxes at hole, birds of the air have nests, the son of Adam had nowhere to lay his head. You going to follow him everywhere you go? You show. Man, they're going to throw you out. They're going to throw you out of that congregation. Man, they're going to throw you out of that place. I promise you. Get out of here and never come back. That's what's going to happen to you. I promise you. And guess what? And the priest posted watchmen over the house of Yahuwah. See, once you get all the ball out, get all that stuff out of there, then you got to post. That's why you have Pesach. And not as much watching. Now you see why you're Safar. Now you see why everybody got to be watching. Now you see why these are, once you get ball out, then you got to be watching. Because Satan trying to put ball back in there. He's trying to put all the gods that you cast out back in your heart. The old lovers, the old life. He's trying to put it all back. That old hatred and envy and jealousy and that old past life, right? They always trying to bring it back. They got to rekindle the fire. Right? That love is dead. And the priest posted watchmen over the house. Here we go. The priest posted watchmen over the house of Yahuwah, and he took the captains and the Karites and the guards and all the people of the land, and they brought the king from the house of Yahuwah, marching through the gates of the guards to the king's house. Man, they were doing all types of stuff. And he took his seat on the throne of the kings. He took his seat. He took his seat on the throne of the Malachim. So all the people of the land rejoiced, and the city was quiet. See, I'm trying to tell you, there's a reason why Yahuwah said, you know what? Surround the daughters of Tsyun. Matter of fact, attack at noon with all the shepherds. And matter of fact, they got a freshwater well, but it's just fresh evil though. And the land was quiet after Athaliah had been put to death. Now you see what's going to happen to you. People have no idea. When Yahushua come back here, this is why you have Chag Shabua, so you can understand this. He says Athaliah had been put to death with the sword at the king's house. He said that's when everything got quiet. And once that loudmouth, murderous woman got killed, then everything was quiet. Say what? And you don't want to be that woman, right? That's the whole point. Right? So this is the book of Yeshayahu. This is the point where you don't want to be at. This is the whole point. This is Yeshayahu chapter 14. Yeshayahu chapter 14 and verse 3. Yeshayahu chapter 14 and verse 3. Yeshayahu chapter 14 and verse 3. When Yahuwah has given you rest from your pain and turmoil and the hard service which you were made to serve, what do you think I thought you was? You will take up this taunt against the king of Babylon. You're going to take up this taunt against Athaliah too. How has the oppressor ceased? Isn't that what happened to her? Treason, right? She killed all the sons and the whole royal family. That's what king of Babylon did too. Bababal. The insolent fury ceased. That person is dead. Yahuwah has broken the staff of the wicked. And the scepter of rulers. He broke her staff. So you telling me Athaliah was like the king of Babel? Yep. He was just like her. That's what happens when you when a woman does that. I mean, you got Babel, you got Babylon in your heart and your mind. You got Athaliah in your heart. You got Babel, right? You got Nimrud. From his son became more evil, right? In the book of Yashin. Yahuwah has broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers that struck the peoples in wrath. And then she killed all the sons. And then what Yahshua and Yehuda did? They killed Yahushua Mashiach. He said, we ain't never killed Yahushua Mashiach. Yes, you did. You used other people like David to kill Yahushua Mashiach. Didn't he do that? They wrote letters To all the other people, David ain't never touched. He ain't touch him, but he tried to use other people to kill Uriah the Hittite. And Yahuwah say, and you killed Uriah the Hittite. You did it. You did. You did a bunch of emails, slide messages, and you try to get that man wash his hand clean. He's like, man, I ain't innocent of the blood of this innocent man. You try to use other people to kill him. You know good well you did it. We ain't never killed Yahushua Mashiach. Yes, you did. David said, what did David say when he did that? I have seen. They see, that's what the people ain't said. They ain't pricked in their heart. He said, you ain't pricked in your heart yet. You hearing it, but you ain't cut in your heart yet. And it says, the scepters and the rulers that struck the peoples in wrath with unceasing blows, that ruled the nations in anger and unrelenting persecution. What do you think that is? When the woman seeing her son was dead, she went persecuted and started trying to assassinate everybody in the royal family because Yahushua died. So she feel like, if father ain't had no son, now it's my turn to rule. And then she trying to take over the throne and she trying to assassinate. There's no rulership, right? And they're starting to take it over. It's unrelenting persecution. The whole earth is at rest and quiet. When the whole place at quiet, once Athaliah was put to death in the sword in the king's house, and then what they said? The whole land is at rest and quiet now. Because Athaliah is off the throne. That murderer is off the throne. That person who transgressed the commandments is off the throne. They break forth into singing. Didn't they do that? Didn't all the people do that when Athaliah was taken off the throne? So you be asking yourself, why ain't no joy in my heart, in my mind? Why ain't no joy in my house? Why ain't no simcha? It's because one believes that they rule. That's why ain't no joy. Once you get that out of your heart and your mind, and you know that Yahushua gonna take you out of here when he come back here if you do it, then you be so much joy. Be like, man, I can't do that. Let me not even take that pressure on myself to try to even take that authority. Cast your cares upon him, for he cares for you. That's all you got to do. The cypresses rejoice at you. The cedars of Lebanon saying, man, all the trees start laughing, man, everybody, right? Since you were laid low, no woodcutter comes up against us. He said, since you were cut down, Athaliah, since he cut you down, since he cut down Yehuda and Yasharal, since he cut down them trees in Jeremiah chapter 6, since he cut down the daughters of Tsyun, since he cut them down, he say, man, look at here. No woodcutter comes against us. Nobody else comes against us now because of you. That's the only reason we got these wars. He said, why? Because Sheol beneath is stirred up to meet you when you come. It rouses the shades to greet you. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Now you see why. You don't want to be that woman. Ooh, boy. He said, he's going to meet you, Athaliah, when Yahushua come back here, he's going to meet you right nice and good when you see it. It shall rouse the shades to greet you, and all who were leaders of the earth, it raises from their thrones. All who were kings of the nations. But I'm telling you, all of them will answer and say to you, you too have become as weak as we. You have become like us. Your pomp is brought down to Sheol. The sound of your harps, the maggots are laid as a bed beneath you, and the worms are your covers. How are you fallen from Shamayim, O day star, son of the dawn? How are you cut down to the ground, O Hallel? You who laid the nations low. You killed them. That's what he means. How you gonna lay? He said, man, you killed them. You said in your heart, I will ascend to Shamayim above the Kukabim, above the stars of Elohim. You thought you were gonna be sitting on the throne. You thought you were gonna rule. I will set my throne on high, and I will sit in the mount of the assembly in the far reaches of the north. He said, man, you thought you were gonna sit there. You did. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. You thought you were going to be there, above the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High, Yahuwah. But you are brought down to Sheol, to the far reaches of the pit. He said, you thought you were going to be like him, didn't you? Those who see you will stare at you and ponder over you. Is this the man who made the earth tremble, who shook the kingdoms? He did that. Who made the world like a desert and overthrew the cities? Who did not let his prisoners go home? Right, going back to Jeremiah chapter 6. Jeremiah chapter 6 and verse 10. Jeremiah chapter 6 and verse 1. Jeremiah chapter 6 verse 1. Flee for safety, O people of Benjamin, in the midst of Jerusalem. Blow the Turah in Tekoa and raise a signal in Beth Haram. You know what they did when Athaliah got killed? A disaster looms out of the north. And then we just said, you're going to sit your throne in the sides of the north. You said you're going to be like Yahuwah, huh? And great destruction. The lovely and delicate bread I will destroy, the daughter of Tsyun. Shepherds with their flocks shall come against her. There shall pitch their tents around her. They shall pasture each in his place, prepare for war against her. Why do you think they did all them soldiers around Athaliah? Why do you think they did all that? Arise and let us attack at noon. He said, why you attack at noon? Why do you think Yahuwah? Woe to us, for the day declines, for the shadow of evening lengthens. He said the shadow of evening lengthens. Why do you think we're going all the way to the longest? This is during the longest night. But then you start to see what? Arise, let us attack by night and destroy her palaces. For thus says Yahuwah of hosts, cut down her trees. And then we just read in Yeshayahu. He said, but now you cut to the ground. Cast siege around the mound against Jerusalem. This is the city that must be punished. There is nothing but oppression within her. And that's why you don't want it inside of you. You don't want to oppress nobody. Right? So this is the book of Odes of Solomon, Ode Ishaluma, Odes of Solomon, Pseudepigrapha. Odes of Solomon, chapter Pseudepigrapha, volume 2, and verse chapter Odes of Solomon, ODE, and 12. Odes of Solomon, ODE 12. He has filled me with the words of truth that I may proclaim him. And like the flowing waters, truth flows from my mouth. And my lips declare his fruits. He say, what? The kingdom going to be taken away from you and given to a people bearing his fruits. And guess what? And he has caused his knowledge to abound in me, because the mouth of Yahuwah is the true word and the door of his life. And the Most High has given him to his generations, which are the interpreters of his beauty, the narrators of his kabod, the confessors of his thoughts, the preachers, the Qahalath of his mind, and the teachers of his works. For the subtlety of the word is inexpressible. And like his expressions, so also is his swiftness and his acuteness, for the liveliness in his path. He never falls but remains standing. He said, oh, who are the people fall? That's us. We are the ones who are going to fall. He remains standing, and one cannot know the descent of his way. He said, you'll never know it. For at his work, as his work is, so is his expectation. For he is the light and the dawning of thought. He said, so you saying, how are you falling, O Shaly'shy, son of the dawn? You thought you were the dawn? Nah, Yahuwah is the dawn. And guess what? And by him the generation spoke to one another, and those who were silent acquired speech. Why do you think he gave a speaking ruach to Adam in the Aramaic targums? And from him came love and harmony, and they spoke one another whatever was theirs. And they were stimulated by his debar, and knew him who made them, because they were in harmony. For the mouth of the Most High spoke to them, and his exposition was swift through him. For the dwelling place of the word is man. And his truth is love, ahava. That's all it is. It's just ahava, it's love. Because open rebuke is better than secret love, hidden love. Well, he said, I might as well do it now. Barak are they who are by means of him have recognized everything. And guess what? And have known Yahuwah in his truth. He said, that's the whole point. This is Yeshayahu chapter 4 and verse 1. Yeshayahu chapter 4 and verse 1. Or chapter 3 and verse, chapter 3. Yeshayahu chapter 3 and verse 8. Yeshayahu chapter 3 verse 8. 3 and verse 8. For Jerusalem has stumbled and Yehuda has fallen. Because their speech and their deeds are against Yahuwah. Now you see why we brought low. People say, man, people have no idea. Everything you say, he's like, it's against Yahuwah. Defying his glorious presence. He's like, and people have no idea. For the look of their faces bear witness against them. People say, have no idea. Yahuwah is like, I see you. And they proclaim their sin like Sodom, and they do not hide it. He's like, I already got you. You are like, I see everything. Woe to them, for they have brought evil on themselves. Now you see why he says, repent and do your first works over. Tell the righteous that it shall be well with them. He said, it's going to be well with you, for they shall eat the fruit of their deeds. Didn't we just read that? Odes of Solomon? This is Yahuwah's fruit. This is the fruit of the deeds. Woe to the wicked. It shall be ill with him. For what his hand have dealt out, shall it be done to him. People say, you reap what you sow. He said, being that you put your hands on my son, and you hit him over the head of a reed, and you pierced him in his side, and you killed all the royal family, and you destroyed all that, and you committed adultery against me, and I'm hot, and I'm upset, Yasharal and Yehuda. Return to me. I won't be angry always, but if you continue to do it, for what his hands have dealt out, so shall it be done to him. He said, if you continue to do it, then I'm just going to come at you. Verse 12, my people, infants are their oppressors. How has the oppressor ceased? The oppressor ceased. He said, you need to understand what Yahuwah did. And women rule over them. He's like, how has the oppressor ceased? Oh, my people, your gods mislead you, and they have swallowed up the course of your path. All the people that's in bed with her too, and all the people that follow her. And that stuff, he said, kill them all too. Put them to death. That's what happens. And Yahuwah has taken his place to contend. Why do you think he put him back on the throne with Athaliah? And then he put the soldiers around him, and then she couldn't get even 10 feet. Matter of fact, she couldn't even get close, 144 feet away. She was dead. And he stands judges the peoples. Yahuwah enters into judgment with the elders and the princes and the people. What happened to that priest at Baal? They got rid of him too. It is you who have devoured the vineyard. He said, I'm looking at y'all. Y'all did it. That woman who was in there trying to rule, that oppressor, and that priest of Baal. He said, y'all did it. You devoured the vineyard. And you know what else he did? The spoil of the poor is in your houses. He said, man, you done took all the people's money too. What do you think? You think Athaliah for 6 years? You think she was just being just after she murdered all the sons? No. What do you mean by crushing my people? You see what they do? You crush them. You thought you were the crushing stone. You know how he said the kingdom going to be taken away from you and given to a people producing its fruits. And who fall on this stone, they're going to crush them. So you thought you were the crushing stone, the stone which the builder rejected. Became the head of the corner. What do you mean by crushing my people? By grinding the face of the poor, declares Yahuwah of Elohim of hosts. Why do you think they beat Yahushua over here? He said, foxes have holes, the bears of the air have nests, but the son of Adam have nowhere to lay his head. Verse 16, Yahuwah said, because the daughter of Tsyun are haughty. He said, man, cast a whole. He said, surround Jerusalem. Shepherds in your flocks. Matter of fact, attack at noon. and walked in outstretched necks, and glancing and wanting with their eyes, mincing also as they go, tinkling with their feet. Now you see why Yahusha came broke. He was saying, Yahusha said, Father, that whole birds of air, I ain't got nowhere to lay my head. And he said, man, I had to go in there with nothing. Because if they see me with something, then they ain't going to want to follow me for the right reasons. He said, you got to be poor. That's what happens. Therefore, Yahuwah will strike a scab at the heads of the daughters of Tsyun, and Yahuwah will lay bare their secret part. He said, man, I'm going to lay bare your secret parts. He said, you ain't going to produce no children. And guess what? In that day, Yahuwah will take away the finery anklets and the headbands and the crescents and the pendants and the bracelets and the scars, all these things that who taught them? Azazel. Azazel. Why he taking it away? Because they was seducing people to commit fornication and adultery. That's what Yasharal and Yehuda did in Yirmiyahu chapter 3. They were committing adultery and fornication at every high heel. That's what the fallen did. Chemyaz and Azazel and Amarah and Abazabal and Penuel. The pendants and the bracelets and the scars, the headbands, the armlets, the sashes, and the perfume boxes, and the amulets, and the signet rings, and the nose rings, and the festal robes, and the mantles, and the cloaks, and the handbags, and the mirrors, and the linen, and the turbans, and the veils. What do you think all this stuff for? The beautifying of the daughters of Tsyun. That's why they spend the most money. But he said, who can find a virtuous woman? Her price is far above rubies. Why? He said her husband would never lack gain, but he's like, man, these type, man, you ain't, man, there's no way. Instead of perfume, there will be rottenness, and instead of belt, a rope. He said, you went from a belt, you know how you say you got a downgrade? You went from a belt, nice belt, to a rope. And instead of well set hair, baldness. Why you think about Shaul said, if they don't want to do these things, he said, you know what? To humble themselves. That's why it's good when that's how you know a woman humbled herself. When they start to shave off the hair of their head, when they start to cut their hair, when they start to realize that they are nothing. And instead of a belt, a rope, and instead of well set hair, baldness, instead of riches, a rich robe, a skirt of sackcloth. He said, man, he down like a thalia. Matter of fact, like Asenath. Because Asenath was a virgin. You know how it says, don't rip your garments. You know how people say, I want to rip my clothes and my hair and everything. No, what did he tell? He said, don't rip your garments, rip your heart. So all that outward stuff can come back. But that heart is irreplaceable. You tear your heart, that's an irreplaceable thing. That's like something that is so sacred. Rather than your clothes, you can always get that back. You can go buy that. But when you tear your heart, that's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother transformation. Your inward man, your inner thoughts and your inner mind. People want to do all the outward stuff, but he said, no, don't do that. Rent your heart and your mind and your liver and your kidneys and your innermost parts of yourself. That's the person you need to be, right? All the other stuff is just outward showing. And instead of a belt, a rope, instead of well set hair, baldness, instead of rich robes, a skirt of sackcloth, and a branding instead of beauty. Your men shall fall by the sword. How you think Yahusha died? Because the daughters of Tsyun were hardy. Yasharal and Yehuda were hardy. Yehuda was hardy, and he ended up dying. Matter of fact, we were in Yirmiyahu chapter 6. He said, because the daughters of Tsyun doing what they're doing, he said, all the rest of y'all, he said, bring it against the young men too. And the old and the young. Yahuwah just went just came at everybody. Your men shall fall by the sword, and your mighty men in battle. And her gates shall lament and mourn, empty shall she sit on the ground. He said, you ain't got no man around. You ain't got no man no more. You know what happens when you ain't got no ish? Yahushua gonna come out and where your husband? I ain't got one. He said, you right. You had 5. And the one you had ain't yours because you unstable. Going to verse 4, chapter 4. And 7 women shall take hold of one man in that day. He said, there's 7 of them. Why? After all that. Because there ain't none. Because there ain't none. He said, man, it's a lot of people like you. He said, no, it ain't. He said, just like Yahuwah say, he said, many are called, few will choose. Everybody ain't going to choose it. Man, there ain't a lot of people like this. He's like, yeah, I believe in Yahuwah. I keep the commandments and the testament of Yahuwah. Amen, please. How many people on earth? And how many people he pick on earth? Please. And you start looking at all the people, what they're doing. 7 women shall take hold of one man in that day, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own clothes, right? They got their own stuff. He said, man, we got our own stuff. Only let us be called by your name and take away our reproach. He's like, man, take away our reproach. Why do you think Yahushua said, the reproach of those who reproach you, Yahuwah, it fell on me? Why do you think he said 7 congregations in the book of Hazum? He said, he holds the 7 stars in his right hand and the 7 golden lampstands. Why do you think the women need... You want 7 women with don't know about the menorah and the near? That makes no sense. They got to understand the menorah and the near. They got to understand what the 7 celestial circles are. Why? That makes no sense. Non-understanding and no intellectual properties. Why would somebody want to cleave to Yahushua Mashiach with no knowledge? That makes no sense. What fellowship have Yahuwah with the sons of Bala or daughter of Bala? What fellowship have Mashiach with Bala? Why would 7 women take hold of Yahushua Mashiach when they worship Baal? It makes no sense. Why would I do that? Well, we will eat our own bread and wear our own clothes and only let us be called by your name. Take away our reproach. How you gonna do that? Amuna come by hearing about Yahushua Mashiach. That's how you take away the reproach. You gotta understand him in the Torah. You gotta see how Yahuwah was in the Son, reconciling the world to himself. In that day, the branch of Yahuwah shall be beautiful and kabod and glorious. How you gonna do that when it ain't quiet? You gotta be quiet, right? And you gotta be rest in order to be beautiful and glorious. And the fruit of the land shall be the pride and honor of the survivors of Yasharah. The kingdom is going to be taken away from you and given to a people bearing its fruit. So if everybody ain't going to survive, the survivors of Yasharah, because he said, return, O Yasharah, for Yehuda is more evil than you. But he said everybody ain't going to survive. So that means there's not going to be a lot of people. So he'd be like, man, there's a lot of people like you. Survivors in Yasharah, it ain't a lot. People say, that means Yahuwah swinging it. And guess what? You starting to see. Man, I don't know. These people, Yahuwah gave them strength, but they ain't stopping either. Survivors in Yasharah. And he who is left in Tsyun, and remain in Jerusalem will be called Qahalath. So if you survive, that means Yahuwah say, man, you Qahalath. You just like the sun. Because I went and sifted this whole thing, Yasharah. And you the only one that survived it. Think about it. You survived? You must be Qahalath, because there ain't nowhere in the world. Everyone who has been recorded for life in Jerusalem. He said you recorded, so you registered. He said you registered. You recorded to life. You have Chakma. You have the root of wisdom inside of you. You have Hakma. You have Chakma, right? You have it on the inside of you. You have the root of wisdom. You ain't going to fall away. When Yahuwah has washed away the filth of the daughters of Tsyun, he said, how he going to do that? And cleanse the blood stains of Jerusalem from its mist by the ruach of judgment and by the ruach of burning. That's why he said the fire is kindled in my anger and it shall burn to the lowest Sheol. That's why Aydahchay got killed. Because that was the judgment. He cleansed the filth of the daughters of Tsyun that was ruling over Yasharah and ruling over Yehuda. And cleansed the blood stains of Jerusalem. Because she killed all the royal family. And he got rid of her. So what do you think Yahushua going to do when he get back here? And be like, Yahushua, my loving and compassionate Savior, who gives life to every man, which is true, who will hear his word and repent, believe on his name, and keep Yahuwah's commandments. Right? Just like Mashiach gave all the commandments and gave to us, right? He gives it to us again. A second time. First time he broke that thing. Boy, he broke that thing, he was hot. And he cast judgment, and the second time he gave it back. Here you go. Please don't do it again. And guess what? Verse 5. Then Yahuwah will create over the whole site of Mount Tsyun and over her assemblies a cloud by day, as rain and snow come down from Shamayim, so that the barb that goes in our mouth, and smoke and shining of a flaming fire by night. Is not my word like fire? Is not my bar like fire? He who holds the seven menorah in his hand. He say the seven menorah with this over this. Going to Revelations, Hazun. Revelations chapter 1 in verse 1. Revelation chapter 7 and Revelation Hazun chapter 1 and 1. The revelation of Yahushua Mashiach, which Elohim gave to show to his servants, his tenants. When they came, they showed, and Nabi show up. The things that must soon take place. They might beat you down though. He made it known by sending his malak to his servant Yochanan. Why? Because although we or any other malaki teach any other truth other than what you heard, let him be accursed. Why? Who bore witness to the word of Yahuwah, Elohim, to the testament of Yahushua Mashiach, even to all that he saw. Barak is the one who reads aloud. Who reads aloud the words of this novel, this prophecy. Because there ain't no lying nabi. You ain't say lying nabi. And Barak are those who hear and who keep what is written in it, for the time is near. Why? Because Yahushua coming back here. Yochanan to the 7 assemblies that are in Aydah, right? What do you mean 7? Because he said 7 women going to take hold of one man. Khan to you and Shalom from him who is, and who was, and who is to come, past, present, and future. So you think he wasn't? It was the same Yahushua, same Shiach Yahuwah, same Yahuwah today, yesterday, and forever. And from the 7 Ruachs whom are before his throne. He got 7 of them. And that same Yeshayahu chapter 11, right? And guess what? And from Yahushua Mashiach, the faithful witness. The firstborn of the dead. And the ruler of the kings of the earth. So you want to sit on his throne? I assure you, you want to get up. Like, hold up, man, you in my seat. Nah, forget you. I rule this thing. You might want to get out that seat. Because who sits above the mercy seat? Yahuwah. So I suggest you get out the seat. You just sit there. You just bow before the throne and be afraid to utter a word. That's all you got to do. Be afraid. To him who loves us and has freed us from our sins by his blood. Can you do that? And made us why do you think he was getting rid of the blood-stained guilt? Because the woman beat his behind down. These 2 Ishas got the officers, got him arrested, and he got his behind beat down. Yahushua Mashiach. You say, man, get beat. I said, he got beat by his Isha and the prisoners. And he got railed on, he got mocked after he got beat down by the officers. By his Ishas. At the same time. To him who loves us and has freed us from our sins by his blood and made us a kingdom of Kohanim to his Elohim. How you going to do that? You don't throw your stuff in the brook, Kudrum. How you going to do that? Nakala Kudrum. How you going to do that? And the Father. To him be the kabod and dominion forever. Amen. So you want to be a Nabi Abal. You see what he did to Thalia. After he killed Natalia, the woman who ruled over, then he said, you want to be a Kohanim Abal. Ooh, boy, you don't want to be that when you should get back here. That's it. That's it for you. People say, He just said, we just read it in Yeshua, he reserved you for fire in 14. And the kabod and mean forever. Amen. Behold, he is coming with clouds. He coming with Abraku Kanaharu. He coming with the Ruach. He coming with the clouds. He coming with rain and snow. He coming with the Debar. And every eye will see him. You're going to see that dark cloud. And guess what? And those who pierced him and all the tribes of the earth will wail on because of him. Even so, Amen. Right? Going to verse 9. Ayukanan, your brother and partner in tribulation in the kingdom, in patient endurance that it are in Yahusha, was on the island of Patmos on the account of the word of Elohim and the testament of Yahusha. I was in the Ruach on Yahuwah's day, and I heard, behold, behind me a loud voice like a teruah, saying, write what you see in the book, we almost finished, and send it to the 7 congregations in Ephesus and Smyrna, etc. Skipping over to verse 17. And when I saw him, I fell at his feet as though dead. But he laid his right hand on me, saying, fear not, I am the first and the last, the Aleph and the Tooth, the living one. I died, and behold, I am alive forevermore. And I have the keys of death and Hades. So he got the keys, he can open that thing up. And I assure you, going in there. People think it ain't, you going in. People say, man, you going in. He said, man, you going in there, man. Right, therefore, the things that you have seen, those that are, and those that are to take place. Why? For the mystery of the 7 stars that you saw in my right hand, my yard, and the 7 golden lampstands, the 7 stars are the Malachim of the 7 congregations, and the 7 lampstands are the 7 congregations. So you think about that. Now you see why you can't get rid of them 7 women. They're going to take hold of one man. Because they need a Malachim, each one need a Malachim, and they need a lampstand. You don't want to do that. And you got to understand it. 7 near on the 7 on the menorah. And he said we did the 7 Shabbat. Now we're on the 4th near. How you say the 4th Chag, but at the same time, still moving toward the longest day. Right? You almost finished. Yeshayahu chapter 4 and verse. Yeshayahu chapter 4 and verse 5. Then Yahuwah will create over the whole side of Mount Sion and over her assemblies a cloud by day and a smoke of shining flaming fire by night. For over all the kabod there will be a canopy. Right? So there's gonna be a canopy of it. And there will be a booth for shade by day, for the heat from the heat, and for a refuge and a shelter from the storm and the rain. He said, man, it's going to be a covering. He said, what? It's going to be a covering. And that's the whole point. This is Yeshayahu 32:1. Yeshayahu 32:1. Isaiah 32:1. Isaiah 32:1. Behold, a king, Isaiah 32:1. A king will reign in righteousness. Because it'll be all righteousness to keep his commandments. But these are all Sadiq. Who's the king? The son? So you want to try to kill the son? And princes will rule in justice. Nasi will rule in justice. Because he over them. Each will be like a hiding place from the wind. Oh, you mean like a covering, a canopy. A shelter from the storm, like a canopy, the Nasi. The princes that Yahusha rule over, they're going to be like a canopy. How many tribes are there? 12. How many shall a king wear? 12. Whatsoever tribe you dwell among, that's where your canopy at. That's where your covering at. And guess what? And when he said, not see a covering, then guess what? Those 7 women that take hold of one man, each will be like a hiding place from the wind and a shelter from the storm, from the rain and the storms outside. You ever seen a hurricane before? You ever seen one with tornadoes? You did now. He said, I seen one, man, people have no idea. Would you want to be outside during that time? Like streams of water in a dry place. He said, they do this thing when it's green. What do you think they're going to do when it's dry? So you think you want to be under a covering during that time when it's dry? They do this stuff when it was green. That's what Yahushua said. What you think they're going to do when it's dry? So you think you need to be, you know how they were in the desert when they got off the ark? It was a desert place, wasn't it? Same thing when they came out in the Mizraim, right? Wasn't in the midbar? Like streams of water in a dry place. Didn't Mashah give them water? But they had cried to Yahuwah and then he hit the rock, right? He said, speak to the rock, right? Like a shade of a great rock in a weary land. Then the eyes of those who see will not be closed. I ain't Ish Lapid. You ain't gonna be able, he said, stay awake. You know what Yahushua said? Stay awake. For Barak is he who finds so doing. If he come in the first watch, or the second watch, or the third watch, Barak are those servants, right? When he finds so doing. Then the eyes of those who see him will not be closed, and the ears of those who hear will give attention. The heart of the hasty will understand and know, and the tongue of the stammerers and it will hasten to speak diligently. The fool will no more be called noble, and the scoundrel, that's what they put, said, to be honorable, right? That's the Nabal, right? You know how it is, the worthless man. For the fool speaks folly. A wise woman builds her house, but with her own folly she tears it down to the ground. That's why Athaliah killed the whole royal family. And Yahushua said, behold, I come with clouds, and I'm coming to judge. His heart is busy with iniquity, and practice unrighteous ungodliness, and utters error concerning Yahuwah. That's why I'm telling you, you want to be quiet. And leave the craving of the hungry unsatisfied. And that's why we read in Matthew yesterday, chapter 21, 25, 21, right? He said, when do we see you hungry? When do we see you thirsty? When do you see you naked? When do you see you in prison and visit you? He said, you done it to the least of them, my brothers, you did it to me. As for the scoundrel, his devices are evil. She got a well, freshwater well, but she keep up fresh evil, raw. He or her plans wicked schemes to ruin the poor with lying words. Now you see why Yahushua said, foxes at hole, birds of the air have nests, the son of Adam have laid his head, nowhere to lay his head. What do you want, Barabbas or Yahushua? We would not have delivered him over to you if he ain't had no sin, if he ain't do no evil. Even when the plea of the needy is right, even when the plea of the needy is right, you're going to do lying words. But still, that's what they did to Yahushua. But guess what? But he who is noble plans noble things, and on the noble things he stands. Because there's only one person who's going to stand. Everybody else is going to be hitting the ground. I assure you that. This is Ephesians chapter 4. Ephesians chapter 4. Ephesians chapter 4. Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 5. Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 4. There is one body and one ruach, just as you were called in one hope that belongs to your call. One master, one amunah, one immersion, and one Elohim, the Father of all, who is over all, and through all, and in all. Yahuwah himself, by Khan, was given to each one of us according to the measure of Mashiach's gift. Therefore it says, when he ascended on high, he led captivity captive, and he gave gifts to men. I'm saying he ascended, but what does it mean but that he also descended into the lower regions of the earth? He who descended also is the one who ascended far above the Shamayim, that he might fill all things. He said, do I not fill Shamayim and earth? Do I not fill Shamayim and earth? Is there not a secret place that Yahuwah doesn't see you? And he gave some of Shalakim, Nabi'im, evangelists, shepherds, and teachers to equip the Chdshim to the work of the ministry, the body, for the building of the body of Mashiach until we attain the unity of Amunah, of the knowledge of the Son of Elohim to mature manhood, to the measure and stature of the fullness of Mashiach, so that we may no longer be children, ruling. For infants are your oppressors. That's why. Tossed to and fro by the waves and carried about by every wind of doctrine, by human cunning and AI cunning and artificial intelligence cunning, and everything else cunning. Right? There's all types of cunning stuff now. By craftiness and deceitful schemes. Rather, speaking truth in love, we are to grow up every way into him who is the head, into Mashiach, from whom the whole body is joined together by every joint with which it is equipped. When each part is working properly, makes the body grow so that it builds itself up in love, ahava. So what does this got to do with anything? Ephesians 5 and 22. Ephesians 5:22. Actually 5 and 25. Husbands, love your wives as Mashiach loved the body, the congregation, the church. It says the congregation, and gave himself up for her, that he might sanctify or set apart or kudash her, having cleansed her by the washing of water with the bar. That's why he's going to cleanse blood guilt from those 7 women that take hold of one man. And he said each Nasi, your prince, is going to be a hiding place of the wind. He's going to be like streams of water in a dry place. You can't take no bath. You can't get washed when it's dry. But he said when you have that type of canopy in the Nasi, he said you can get washed when it's dry. It's dry. So that he might present the body to himself in splendor, without spot or wrinkle or any such thing, that she might be kudash and without blemish. I told you, Yirmiyahu said this, if you won't surrender Yahushua Mashiach, if you didn't surrender, you know what's going to happen. The king of Babel, the king of Baal, how has the oppressor ceased? You know that oppressor? You know what he's going to say to the women after he take them captive and the children? He's going to say, your friends, you thought they deceived you. When you stuck in the mud, who can come rescue you now? That's what they're going to say. If you don't surrender. Why do you think Yahushua had to surrender when Yasharal and Yehuda delivered him up? Whom do you see? Yahushua of Nazareth. And he said, I am he. He had to surrender. If he didn't do it, nobody would care about you. They'll leave you right there in the ditch in the mud. Then the king of Babel going to take you captive. And then you know what happens after that? They're going to mock you. Yahushua Mashiach, your friends, they deceived you. So that he might present the Aydah to himself in splendor, without spot or wrinkle, any such thing, that she might be kudash and without blemish. In the same way, husbands should love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. For no one ever hated his own flesh. Why? Because his whole bride, his wife, is everybody. His menservant, maidservant, ox, donkey, machine, isha, children, everything that's in his house, whether good or evil. Whether good or evil. In the same way, husbands, love your wives as Mashiach as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. For no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it, just as Mashiach does the body, because we are members of his body. And this is all a part of it. He said, why is this the finished part? This is Matthew chapter 27. Matthew chapter 27 and 63. Matthew 27 and 63. Actually, yeah. Matthew 27 and 37. And over his head they put the charge against him, which read, this is Yahushua, the Malach of the Yahudim. You see what his bride did? He the king of the Yahudim. You see what Athaliah doing? Treason, treason. And they anointed the son, the heir. Then the 2 robbers were crucified with him, one on his right and one on his left, and those who passed by derided him, wagging their heads, and saying, you who destroyed the temple and rebuild it in 3 days, save yourself. If you are the son of Yahuwah, come down from the cross. And so also the chief priests and the scribes mocked him, saying, he saved others, he cannot save himself. If he's a Malach of Yasharal, let him come down from the cross and we will believe in him. He's like, man, I'm the Malach of Yasharal and Yehuda. And you see what my bride, them two women, Yasharal and Yehuda, doing to me? They mocking me after they called the officers to arrest me, and they beat me up. And they set me up for money. And they beat me up. Let him come down from the cross and we will believe in him. He's like, nah, I'm not coming down from the cross. I'm not coming down. He trusts in Elohim. Let Elohim deliver him now if he desires him. For he said, I am the son of Elohim. And the robbers who were crucified with him also reviled him in the same way. So what does this got to do with anything? This is the book of 1 Kings, chapter 2. It's 1 Kings. First Kings chapter. Go to 2 Kings. 2 Kings chapter 1. 2 Kings chapter 1 and verse 5. 2 Kings chapter 1 verse 5. The messengers returned to the king, and he said to them, why have you returned? And they said to him, there came a man to meet us, and said to us, go back to the king who sent you, and say to him, thus says Yahuwah, it is because that there is no Elohim in Yasharal that you are sending to inquire of Baalzebub, the God Elohim of Ekron. Right? Is it because that there is no Elohim in Yasharal that you are sending to inquire of Baalzebub, the God of Ekron? Therefore you shall not come down from the bed to which you have gone up, but you shall surely die. See, this is why you don't want to have Beelzebub. They got Baalzebub. You know, that's the other Elohim. They call it, man, he filthy Elohim. You inquiring of Beelzebub. And he said, you cast out demons by Beelzebub. You know what they just said to Yahushua Mashiach? Actually, they said it to Yahuwah. They don't even know it. And he said to them, what kind of man was he who came to meet you and told you these things? Because you know Yahushua ain't no lying, not be. They answered him, he wore a garment of hair and a belt of leather about his waist, and he said, it is Aydah the Tishbite. Then the king sent to him a captain of 50 men with his 50. Right, that's a lot of people. And guess what he did? And he went up to Aydah, who was sitting on the top of the hill. So you seeing all this stuff, right? They got 30 men to go get Yirmiyahu out the ditch. And he said to him, O men of Elohim. Uh-oh. That's why they sent 50 men, 50 with 50. The king says, come down. Isn't that what they said, Yahushua? Please come down. Come down from the cross, we believe in you. Isn't that what they said? But Aydah answered the captain of 50, if I am a man of Elohim, if I am an Ish, fire of Elohim, if I am the fire of Elohim, that's what Ish is. If I am an Ish of Elohim, the fire of Elohim, let fire come down from Shamayim and consume you and your 50. Then fire came down from Shamayim and consumed him and his 50. What do you think happened to those people when they said come down from the cross? Man, he was casting fire on their behind. You don't even know it. Come down from the cross. You be the Malaki Yehuda, king of Yehuda. Come down from the cross. We'll believe in you. The thieves did it, and then the elders and the chief priests did it. He sent fire down. Let fire come down and consume you. And again, the king sent to him another captain with 50. With 50 men and 50. And his 50. And he answered and said to him, O men Elohim, this is the king's order. Come down quickly. And he said, if you be the Malaki Yehuda, come down. Well, that's what they did. He already got fire thrown on him. Then they said, you Malaki Yasharal, come down from the cross. And guess what happened? But Aydah answered them, if I am a man of Elohim, let fire come down from Shamayim and consume you and your 50. And then fire came down from the Shamayim and consumed him and his 50. And again, the king sent the captain of a 30, he says, third 50 with his 50. And the third captain of the 50 went up and came and fell on his knees. Right? So that's all it takes. 2 witnesses. He said, you see what happened to the first one? You see what happened to the second one? I don't think you want to do that again. See, that's what happened to Yehuda. They saw what Yasharal did, and then they did more evil than Yasharal. And then Yehuda said, okay. Being that you want to do more evil than Yasharal, you know what I say? Return on Yasharal. But what Yasharal got to do in order to return? Let me show you. And again, the king sent the captain of the third 50 and his 50. And what they do? We almost finished, man. His 50, and guess what they did? Then the fire came down from Shamayim and consumed him and his 50. Right. Skipping over to verse. Actually, where we at? Verse 13. And again, the king sent his 50. Right. Yeah. And again, the king sent the captain of the third 50 and his 50, and the third captain of the 50, and went up and came and fell on his knees before Yahu to entreat him. O Malahim, please let my life and the life of these 50 servants of yours be precious in your sight. So after the 2 times, then they hit the ground. That's what happened. They fell on their face. Be precious in your sight. Behold, fire came down from Shamayim and consumed the 2 former captains of the 50 men with their 50s, but let my life be precious in your sight. And this is the whole point. Then the Malach of Yahuwah said to Yahu, go down with him and do not be afraid of him. So you look at all that and you say, how does that work? Because everything happens for a reason, right? Of course, you know, this is the book of Psalms, Tehillim, chapter 73, 25 through 26. Psalms, Tehillim, 73, 25 through 26. On the slide now. Whom have I in Shamayim but you? Where was he at? He was high above the people. But not even knowing that, when Yahushua cried out, he said, who have I in Shamayim but you, Yahuwah? That's how you got to be. And there is nothing on earth that I desire besides you. My flesh and my heart may fail, right? Because flesh is weak. But Yahuwah is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. Why? Because everything we do, he's all a part of it, right? You see, Abri Lashon, it says, Mi li bashamayim u'aim la hasafa la kasaf ba'aratz. It says, Kala Shamari u labab sur labab u kalak alahim elam eulam, right? Forever. And you got to see it. It's forever. Your portion forever. Forever, right? This is Rock chapter 3, 17 to 23. My son, go on thy business in meekness, and son and daughter. Go on thy business in meekness and anu. Go on thy business in meekness, anu. So shall thou be beloved of him that is approved. The greater thou art, the more humble thyself. And thou shalt find favor before Yahuwah. Many are in high places of renown, but mysteries are revealed unto the meek, the anu. For the power of Yahuwah is great and honor with the lowly. Seek not out things that are too hard for thee, neither search for things that are above thy strength. But what is commanded thee, think thereupon with reverence, for it is not needful for thee to see with thine eyes that things are in secret. Be not curious in unnecessary matters, for more things are showed unto thee than men, women, and children understand. Right? So this is all a part of it. This is the essence of truth. Gonna leave with this. This is the essence of truth. Essence of truth. So we're gonna go to communions. Right. This is communions, right? And it says, and on the second evening after the Shabbat, that's what we're going into, say these words. Malach of creative work descend upon the earth and give abundance to all the sons of Adam. For this most powerful of the Malachim of the Heavenly Father is the cause of movement, and the only movement is life. Work, sons of light, or in the garden of the brotherhood, and create the kingdom of the Shamayim upon the earth. And as you work, so will the Malachim of the creative work nurture and ripen the seed of your Ruach, that you may see Allahim. Right, so we look at all that. We look at Yahushua Mashiach, look at the true light. We look at that understanding of him, but also the understanding of his judgment. But knowing that there's many other things that can be said. And everything that can be said has been said. For we know that Yahuwah now was in part, but when that which is perfect has come, that which in part was done away. Knowing Yahushua Mashiach is our light. And he says, he is the stronghold of your life. He is the covering of your life. He's like a stream of water in a dry place. He is the covering that one can be a hiding place from the storm and the winds in your life. So we look at everything that's happening and everything that's going to happen. For there is a time when Yahushua Mashiach is going to come back. And when he comes back, he's coming back with a reward. And every reward he's coming back he's coming back with a reward, right? This is the book of Revelations, the book of Hazun, Revelations, the book of Hazun, Revelations, the book of Revelations, yes. Chapter 21. Actually, yeah, sorry. Book of Revelations, chapter 22 and verse 12. Revelation chapter 22 and verse 10. Revelations Hazun chapter Revelation chapter 22 and verse 10. Hazun 22 and 10. And it says, and he said to me, do not seal up the words of the prophecy of this book, for the time is near. Let the evildoers still do evil, and the filthy still be filthy, and the righteous still do right, and the Qhdsh be Qhdsh. Behold, I am coming soon, bringing my recompense with me to repay each one for what he has done. I am the Aleph and the Two, the first and the last, and the beginning and the end. Barak are those who wash their robes, so that they may have right to the tree of life, that they may enter the city by the gates. Which gates? The 12 gates, right? Whether it's Benjamin's gate, or Rehoboam's gate, or Yehuda's gate, or Yitzchar, God, right? Naphtali, Asher, right? Shamuan, Louis, right? Outside are dogs, sorcerers, and the sexual immoral, and the murderers. Why you see why I thought you got taken out? Idolaters. Why you see why the Nabi Abal got killed out of the house of Elohim? You say, why? And everyone that loves and practices falsehood, why do you think they said, we can't do it in the house of Elohim? We got to take care outside the house of Elohim and do it. Because outside are dogs. Idolaters and murderers and sexual immoral. He said, we can't do that in here though. Yahushua, having sent his Malachi to testify to you about these things to all the Aydah. I am the root and descendant of Dawid, and the bright and morning star. You mean Hallelujah? You know, the one that said they're going to sit on the throne in the sides of the north. He said, no, that's me. I am the bright and morning star. The Ruach and the bride say, come. And let the one who hears say, come. And let the one who is thirsty come. And let the one who desires to take the water of life without price, because they ain't supposed to charge nothing. I warn everyone who hears the words in the Naba of this book. If anyone adds to them, Elohim will add to him the plagues described in the book. And if anyone takes away from the words of the book of this prophecy, Elohim will take away his share in the tree of life and in the Qhdsh city, which are described in this book. He who testifies these things says, surely I am coming soon. Amen. Bo. Adon Yahusha. Amen bo Adani Yahusha. Right? For the meek shall inherit the earth. The Anu shall inherit the Eretz.